Chapter 1833, Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley. Chapter 1833, Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley. In Blood Sun Valley, one could only exchange for an essence condensation pill with 100 essence nourishing grass and rain frost flower. However, Snow Wind Ridge had no other choice but to exchange for it in Blood Sun Valley. The path to Dragon Abyss City was blocked by the combined forces of Blood Sun Valley and the evil Wolf Army. Even if the exchange rate was 1,000 immortal herbs for a single pill, the other factions would have to endure it, let alone 100 to 1. Fellow Taoist Su, have you been to Dragon Abyss City? Yu Hao asked. Su Zimo shook his head. Yu Hao said, if you don't mind, the three of us siblings are willing to accompany you to Dragon Abyss City to take a look. We can also lead the way for you. Don't you guys have to punish these prisoners? Su Zimo looked at the 1,000-odd cultivators of Blood Sun Valley who had surrendered. Shinfei said, fellow Taoist, you don't have to worry. These captured prisoners have their cultivation sealed. With us hundreds of brothers watching over them, nothing will go wrong. That's good too. Su Zimo nodded. Be it him or Duan Tianliang, neither of them were familiar with Dragon Abyss City. It was not bad to have Yu Hao and the other two as guides. Yu Hao instructed the few cultivators behind him to escort the captured prisoners of Blood Sun Valley back to Sun Vanquishing Stronghold before heading towards Dragon Abyss City with Su Zimo and the others. At the same time, in Blood Sun Valley, in the courtyard of Chen Xuanyang's residence, the void collapsed and a dark spatial tunnel appeared. A figure drenched in blood fell out with disheveled hair and a severed arm. Many servants in the residence were shocked. Who is there? You've trespassed into Blood Sun Valley. Someone shouted. Hurry and call my father. The blood-stained figure tried his best to raise his head and growled. Everyone focused their gazes and their expressions changed. Young master, young master. Everyone swarmed forward hurriedly to help Chen Xinyang up. That move touched the wound on Chen Xuanyang's broken arm. Chen Xuanyang's face turned even paler as he trembled in pain. Hurry and call my father over. A servant retreated hurriedly and ran outside. Before long, a middle-aged man in blood-colored armor strode over with a dark expression. The middle-aged man was the current Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley. Behind him were two old men, both protectors of Blood Sun Valley. When the Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley saw Chen Xinyang in such a state, he could not help but narrow his eyes. The temperature of the entire residence dipped and the atmosphere turned extremely tense. The air seemed to have frozen. Xinyang, what's going on? The Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley asked slowly with a cold voice. Father. Chen Xinyang took a few steps and knelt in front of the Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley with a thud, saying tragically, my arm was ripped off. Father, you have to seek justice and take revenge for me. The Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley took out an elixir from his storage bag and fed it to Chen Xinyang. Chen Xuanyang's face regained some color, and the wound on his broken arm showed signs of clotting. However, the pain from his wound was still excruciating. Tell me slowly, what happened? The Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley asked in a deep voice. Don't you have Shadowless and the other two by your side? How did the survivors of Sky Pillar Stronghold injure you? Father, the three of them are dead, Chen Xinyang said. What? The Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley was shocked. The 3 Grade 7 Black Immortals were protectors in Blood Sun Valley. They were not to be underestimated even in the entire Dragon Abyss Star. The death of 3 Grade 7 Black Immortals was a huge loss for Blood Sun Valley. Chen Xinyang laughed bitterly. I don't think many people from the 5,000-strong army survived this time round. I only managed to escape alive after tearing the transference talisman you gave me. Bang! When the Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley heard that, he was enraged and attacked, smashing the head of a servant beside Chen Xinyang. Although the servant was also a Grade 3 Black Immortal, he died on the spot from the Valley Master's wrath. The other servants were scared out of their wits and knelt on the ground, trembling. Blood Sun Valley was indeed one of the 8 major factions of Dragon Abyss Star, and there were tens of thousands of troops stationed in the valley. Even so, The loss of 5,000 people and 3 Grade 7 Black Immortals was an unacceptable loss for Blood Sun Valley. Furthermore, this was a huge blow to Blood Sun Valley's reputation. Valley Master, please calm down. It's better to listen to the young master explain what happened. The old man on the left of the Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley lowered his head and persuaded softly. The two old men were the left and right protectors of Blood Sun Valley. Their cultivation realms were at the peak of level 7 Black Essence Realm, and their combat strength was second only to the Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley. It's Su Zimo. The figure of the green-robed cultivator flashed through Chen Xuanyang's mind as he grit his teeth. Shadowless and the other two were ambushed by Su Zimo. If not for that person's sudden appearance, I would have wiped out all the survivors of Sky Pillar's stronghold long ago. What's Su Zimo? The Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley frowned slightly and asked, "Who is that? Why haven't I heard of him before?" The Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley did not take the incident 10 years ago to heart and naturally would not care about a Grade 4 Black Immortal. The left protector pondered for a moment and asked, "The person who killed all 500 of the evil wolf army 10 years ago, right?" "That's him," Chen Xinyang said hatefully. The right protector frowned slightly. "So, it's him. I have some impression of him. A few years ago, the evil wolf army even issued a bounty for his life, but they could not find him. To think that he would appear again." "Something's wrong?" Suddenly, the left protector asked, 10 years ago, he was only a Grade 4 Black Immortal. In just 10 years, he broke through 3 cultivation realms in succession and cultivated to Grade 7? "No," Chen Xinyang said hurriedly, "he's only a Grade 5 Black Immortal. The reason why he was able to kill Shadowless and the others was because of his sneak attacks and some strange methods. He broke through to the level 5 Black Essence Realm in 10 years. That's a terrifying speed," the right protector said softly. The left protector nodded as well. No matter what methods he used, he's not simple to be able to kill 3 Grade 7 Black Immortals across 2 cultivation realms. Chen Xinyang lamented, "Father, my arm was torn off by this Su Zimo. If I hadn't reacted quickly, I wouldn't have been able to see you right now. Father, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to make him pay with blood." The Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley pondered for a long time before saying slowly, "Send this news to the evil wolf army." The left protector's eyes lit up. "Valley Master, you're wise. Given the methods of the evil wolf army, they'll definitely search wildly for that person after receiving this news. Even without us stepping in, that person will definitely die." The Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley continued. "Additionally, Protector Shui, make a trip to Dragon Abyss City personally. That person has obtained many spoils of war and treasures, and there's a high chance he's heading to Dragon Abyss City. If the evil wolf army can't kill him, bring his head to me." Chapter 1834, Great Gene Country. Chapter 1834, Great Gene Country. Riding on the big yellow dog, Su Zimo headed towards Dragon Abyss City with Yu Hao, Xin Fei, and Gu Wenjun. Along the way, Su Zimo took a rough look at the rewards he obtained from killing the Blood Sun Valley cultivators and was secretly delighted. There were more than 3,000 dark-grade Dharmic treasures in those storage bags. There were around 120,000 essence condensation pills in the storage bags. In the storage bags of the 3 Grade 7 Black Immortals, Su Zimo even found 13 essence spirit stones. He learned from Yu Hao and the other two that 1 essence spirit stone could be exchanged for 10,000 essence condensation pills on the Dragon Abyss Star. He had benefited immensely this time round. Even without going to the Dragon Abyss Star to exchange for essence condensation pills, the 120,000 essence condensation pills were enough for Su Zimo to cultivate for a period of time. Of course, Su Zimo did not change his plans and still intended to head to Dragon Abyss City to take a look. The only pity was that Chen Xinyang managed to escape. There must be even more treasures and cultivation resources in Chen Xuanyang's storage bag. The immortal herbs transported by Blood Sun Valley this time round were also in Chen Xuanyang's storage bag. Unfortunately, Su Zimo did not manage to snatch them away. Along the way, Su Zimo learned a lot about the upper world from Yu Hao and the other two. According to Yu Hao, the Dragon Abyss star belonged to Green Cloud County. Green Cloud County was a county under the jurisdiction of the Great Gene Country. Within the jurisdiction of Green Cloud County, there were more than 100 cities like Dragon Abyss City. A single Dragon Abyss City ruled over the entire Dragon Abyss star. One could imagine how vast the region ruled by the 100-odd cities was. However, those 100-odd cities were only equal to a single Green Cloud County. Green Cloud County alone was many times larger than Tianhuang mainland. It was hard to imagine the scale of the entire Great Gene Country. The Great Gene Country was far away in the starry skies above the gigantic shadow. According to Yu Hao, the shadow was an endless mainland. What they could see from the Dragon Abyss star was only the tip of the iceberg. The Great Gene Country was on that mainland. Gu Wenjun said, basically, all the cultivators on the Dragon Abyss star want to leave this place and step foot on that land. I heard that the heaven and earth essence chi in the other cities of Great Gene Country's Green Cloud County is much richer than here, and their cultivation speed will be much faster. Suzimo asked, what are the conditions required to leave the Dragon Abyss star? The Dragon Abyss star was thousands of kilometers away from the Great Gene Country. Only heaven immortal experts could cross the galaxy. However, Xia Qingying had once told him that there was a teleportation formation in Dragon Abyss City that could teleport cultivators to the mainland at the end of the starry skies. Yu Hao replied, there are two ways to leave the Dragon Abyss star. The first is to cultivate to the level 9 Black Essence realm. After you become a grade 9 Black Immortal, you can head to the City Lord's residence in Dragon Abyss City. At that time, someone will naturally send you to the Great Gene Country. Su Zimo nodded. From the looks of it, a grade 9 Black Immortal was already the strongest expert on the Dragon Abyss star. Yu Hao had just said that the City Lord of Dragon Abyss City was a grade 9 Black Immortal. However, it was almost impossible for one to cultivate to a grade 9 Black Immortal on the Dragon Abyss star where heaven and earth essence chi, as well as cultivation resources were scarce. Yu Hao continued, the second method is to spend 100 essence spirit stones. 100 essence spirit stones. Su Zimo frowned slightly. 10,000 essence condensation pills could only be exchanged for 1 essence spirit stone. 100 essence spirit stones was equivalent to 1 million essence condensation pills. However, how could ordinary cultivators possess so many essence condensation pills? More importantly, essence condensation pills were a necessary cultivation resource for Black Immortals to begin with. If cultivators wanted to raise their cultivation realms as soon as possible, they would have to consume essence condensation pills. As such, it was almost impossible for them to accumulate 1 million essence condensation pills. Even after destroying nearly 5,000 troops of Blood Sun Valley, Su Zimo only obtained 120,000 essence condensation pills. That was 12 essence spirit stones. Including the 13 essence spirit stones, he only had 25 in total. Su Zimo said, this second method is not much different from the first. It's difficult for ordinary cultivators to achieve. You're right, fellow Taoist. Yu Hao smiled bitterly. Only a major faction like Blood Sun Valley on the Dragon Abyss star can accumulate 100 essence spirit stones after a long period of accumulation. Ordinary cultivators like us have no hope for life. After traveling day and night for about half a month, they finally arrived at Dragon Abyss City. Looking at the city from afar, it was like a gigantic ancient beast that stood on the horizon in an extremely shocking manner. Before long, Su Zimo and the others arrived. The city walls of the ancient city were about 100 feet tall and were made from gigantic green rocks that were filled with age. Xinfei said, on the Dragon Abyss star, a height of 90 feet is the limit of the Black Essence Realm's ability to soar through the air. Therefore, the city walls of Dragon Abyss City are only 100 feet tall. In the upper world, not only was the space stable and the ground hard, even the gravity released by the ground was extremely strong. Although Black Immortals could soar through the air, they could not fly too high. Furthermore, the toll on their essence chi was immense. Even a grade 9 Black Immortal could only ascend to a height of 90 feet. With that, The cultivators of the Dragon Abyss Star could only enter the city through the gigantic city gate that resembled the mouth of a ferocious beast. On both sides of the city gate stood more than 10 guards with sabers hanging on their waists. All of them had cold expressions and stopped everyone from entering the city to question them. The guards had different cultivation realms, and most of them were at grade 6 or 7. Yuhao said, "Everyone has to pay 1,000 essence condensation pills before entering the city. The guards will give each of us a badge. With this badge, you can stay in Dragon Abyss City for a day. This badge will disappear a day later. If you want to continue staying in Dragon Abyss City, you'll have to pay 1,000 essence condensation pills. Otherwise, you'll be kicked out by the guards of Dragon Abyss City." Good Lord. 1,000 essence condensation pills for a single day in Dragon Abyss City. Duan Tianliang muttered, "This is daylight robbery." Everyone stood far away and had yet to arrive at the city gate. However, Duan Tianliang's words were heard by a city guard. The guard glanced over coldly with an icy expression. Duan Tianliang was shocked and shrank his neck. Taking a deep breath of air, Su Zimo said, "Let's go into the city." "All right." Yuhao and the others agreed. Su Zimo said, "You guys accompanied me here this time round. I'll pay for the essence condensation pills for your trip into the city." Su Zimo had gained a lot from destroying the army of Blood Sun Valley this time round. He had also obtained a lot of useful information from Yuhao and the other two, and it was only logical for him to provide the essence condensation pills. This? Yuhao and the other two hesitated and were about to decline. Su Zimo had already taken out some essence condensation pills from his storage bag and handed them to the guard at the city gate. Chapter 1835, Turtle Shell. Chapter 1835, Turtle Shell. Su Zimo had a total of 5 people for this trip, and he had to fork out 5,000 essence condensation pills. He handed over the storage bag with the essence condensation pills. At the same time, he sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness. "Exalted Immortal, please let us through. There are 6,000 essence condensation pills inside." When the guard heard Duan Tianliang's grumble earlier on, there was a high chance he would come and make things difficult for them. Su Zimo did not want to get into a conflict with the guards of Dragon Abyss City. Right now, entering the city was the most important thing for him. Initially, the guard wanted to make things difficult for Su Zimo's group. However, when he heard Su Zimo's voice transmission, his expression softened as he nodded to the latter. "Little cultivator, you sure are tactful." The person did not say much and condensed 5 badges with an immortal art, handing them to Su Zimo. "You're only allowed to stay in Dragon Abyss City for a day. Go on in." Su Zimo received the badge and expressed his thanks before entering Dragon Abyss City with Yuhao and the others. Compared to the deserted city outside, Dragon Abyss City was extremely lively. The moment Su Zimo and the others entered the city, they saw many cultivators selling talismans, Dharmic treasures, and cultivation techniques on both sides of the road. Everywhere everyone could see, there were all sorts of cultivators. The gigantic city was bustling with people. There's only a single city in the true sense of the word on the entire Dragon Abyss Star. Many cultivators on the Dragon Abyss Star will try their best to gather here like a marketplace. Yuhao said amidst the clamor, "Essence condensation pills are considered as currency here. If you want to purchase something, you can exchange it with essence condensation pills." Gu Wenjun said, "Fighting is not allowed in Dragon Abyss City. The moment anyone makes a move, the city guards will arrive and chase the cultivators out. If the situation is serious, the city guards might even kill the troublemakers on the spot." Shenfei continued, "If you want to fight, there will be a night marketplace in Dragon Abyss City after night falls." Pausing for a moment, Shenfei winked at Su Zimo and gave a strange laugh. "There's everything there. I heard that as long as you spend enough essence condensation pills, there will also be some beauties." Cough. At the side, Gu Wenjun's expression darkened as she coughed gently. "Let's get back to proper business." Shenfei retracted his smile hurriedly and said sternly, "An auction will be held in the night marketplace. There will be many precious and rare treasures at the auction. After the auction, an arena will be set up. As long as both parties agree to it, they can even fight to the death. Suzimo frowned slightly and asked, Dragon Abyss City isn't going to interfere in this night marketplace? No. Yuhao shook his head. I heard that many of the guards and exalted immortals of Dragon Abyss City would head to the night marketplace occasionally to relax. Suzimo nodded and chatted with Yuhao and the others as they walked, glancing casually at the stalls on both sides of the road. Suddenly, Suzimo focused his gaze and stopped in front of a stall. He squatted down and looked over. Yuhao and the others watched from the side as well. The stall owner was a middle-aged man. There were some talismans, Dharmic treasures, elixirs, and even some rocks and minerals. Fellow Taoist, what do you fancy? The middle-aged stall owner asked. Suzimo picked up an inferior black-rayed Dharmic treasure and examined it carefully, seemingly pleased. After looking at it for a moment, Suzimo asked, Fellow Taoist, how much is this Dharmic treasure? Although this sword is an inferior black-rayed, it's extremely sharp and is top tier among the inferior black-raids. The middle-aged stall owner said, that sword is worth at least 20,000 essence condensation pills. You're really asking for a lot. At the side, Shun Fei could not take it anymore and sneered. The price of an inferior black-rayed Dharmic treasure is 10,000 essence condensation pills. Stop bluffing. Do you really think we don't know the market price? My sword is different. The middle-aged stall owner blushed when his thoughts were exposed, but he still braced himself and argued. Suzimo shook his head gently and pretended to be troubled, sighing. 20,000 essence condensation pills is indeed a little expensive. Thereafter, Suzimo put down the sword and looked at other things. He picked up a turtle shell the size of a face in a seemingly casual manner and asked with a frown, Fellow Taoist, what is this? Ah. The middle-aged stall owner glanced at it. This turtle shell has an extraordinary background. I obtained it by chance in an ancient ruin. Stop exaggerating. Shinfei sneered. So, all your items have such a powerful background? Suzimo frowned. I injected heaven and earth essence chi into this turtle shell, but why isn't it moving at all? What's the use of this thing? Fellow Taoist, you don't know? The middle-aged stall owner said, if we can discover the secret behind a natural oddity as such casually, it would be worthless. For treasures as such, you have to buy them before examining them carefully. Only then will you be able to comprehend the secrets within. Oh. Suzimo smiled and asked in a seemingly casual manner, how much is this turtle shell? Just as the middle-aged stall owner was about to speak, he rolled his eyes. If you buy that sword for 20,000 essence condensation pills, I'll give you this turtle shell as a gift. Brother Su, let's go. When Yuhao saw that Suzimo seemed like he was about to be tricked, he did not care much and greeted Suzimo as a brother before pulling him away. Unexpectedly, Suzimo took out a storage bag and threw it in front of the middle-aged stall owner. 20,000 essence condensation pills. I'll buy it. The middle-aged stall owner was stunned and could not believe it. He opened the storage bag and saw that there were indeed 20,000 essence condensation pills. He had picked up the turtle shell casually, and it was completely useless. The price of that sword was around 10,000 essence condensation pills. To think that this refined cultivator would be so easily tricked into spending 20,000 essence condensation pills to purchase an inferior black-grade Dharmic treasure. At that thought, the middle-aged stall owner put away the 20,000 essence condensation pills hurriedly and tossed the sword and turtle shell to Suzimo. He was afraid that Suzimo would renege on his words. Sigh. When they saw that, Yuhao and the other two exchanged glances and could only sigh helplessly. Now that the transaction was already done, it was useless even if they wanted to persuade him. Hold on. Right then, a feminine voice sounded not far away. Immediately after, a young man charged over and reached out, grabbing the turtle shell that was thrown towards Suzimo. From the looks of it, he wanted to fight for the turtle shell. Narrowing his gaze, Suzimo harumphed coldly and tapped the young man on the wrist gently. Right now, he could not release any divine powers or secret skills in Dragon Abyss City. However, that single finger was no different from a divine weapon with a sharp edge. Realizing how powerful he was, the young man's expression changed and he retracted his hand hurriedly. Suzimo conveniently kept the turtle shell in his palm and placed it in his storage bag, glaring at the young man coldly. Chapter 1836, Commander Liu. Chapter 1836, Commander Liu. The fight between Suzimo and the young man was extremely short, and they separated before they even made contact. Although it attracted many gazes, it did not cause much of a stir. Yu Hao and the others looked at the young man opposite them, and their expressions changed slightly in shock. Fellow Taoist Su, this is the young master of Black Een Mountain, Ding Yu. Be careful. Yu Hao sent a voice transmission to Suzimo hurriedly. Black Een Mountain was one of the 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star and was on par with Blood Sun Valley. Ding Yu's cultivation realm was at the level 6 Black Essence realm. However, there was a grade 7 Black Immortal guarding him. The person looked at Suzimo with an unfriendly expression. Behind the two of them were more than 10 grade 5 and 6 Black Immortals of Black Een Mountain. Xin Fei sent a voice transmission as well. This person is not to be trifled with. It's best to avoid conflict with him. Beside Ding Yu stood a young woman with fair skin. Her eyes shone with a divine light, and she had a refined aura that shone brightly. Although this young woman was a grade 6 Black Immortal, she stood shoulder to shoulder with Ding Yu. Be it in terms of aura or status, she seemed different from the guards of Black Een Mountain. An old man stood behind the young woman, lowering his head. He was expressionless and was also a grade 7 Black Immortal. Gu Wenjun's gaze swept past the young woman's waist and froze slightly. That woman might be from Heavenly Fire Palace. Gu Wenjun sent a voice transmission secretly. Furthermore, from the looks of it, that woman has a high status in the Heavenly Fire Palace. To think that she would have a grade 7 Black Immortal as her guard. Similar to Black Een Mountain and Blood Sun Valley, Heavenly Fire Palace was one of the 8 major factions. You don't recognize me? Ding Yu glared at Suzimo coldly and asked. Suzimo replied indifferently, the young master of Black Een Mountain. I've just heard of your name. Very good. Ding Yu nodded. Since that's the case, hand over that turtle shell. Don't worry, I won't let you take a loss. Earlier on, you bought an inferior black grade sword and that turtle shell and spent 20,000 essence condensation pills. Ding Yu took out a storage bag and said, there are 40,000 essence condensation pills in this storage bag. I don't want that inferior black grade sword. I only want that turtle shell. With that said, Ding Yu tossed the storage bag in his hands towards Suzimo. Suzimo's expression was unchanged as he sidestepped and dodged. The storage bag with the 40,000 essence condensation pills fell to the ground. Ding Yu's expression darkened as he narrowed his eyes. What's the meaning of this? Nothing much. Suzimo said, I don't want to sell this turtle shell. Ding Yu's gaze was cold as he said icily, lad, you must have a death wish. Right then, the young woman beside Ding Yu took a step forward and cupped her fists towards Suzimo. Fellow Taoist, I'm Jiang Li of Heavenly Fire Palace. How much do you want to sell this turtle shell for? So, that's Jiang Li. No wonder she has such an aura. Who is she? Although the daughter of the Palace Lord of Heavenly Fire Palace is a woman, I heard that she obtained the legacy of the Palace Lord and has never tasted defeat at the level 6 Black Essence realm. The crowd discussed. Little Li, don't say anything more to him. Don't worry, I'll definitely help you get that turtle shell. Ding Yu said in a deep voice. Suzimo ignored Ding Yu and said to Jiang Li, I'm sorry, but I don't want to sell this turtle shell. A look of disappointment flashed through Jiang Li's eyes, but she did not insist. Right then, a group of guards from Dragon Abyss City walked over. They wore armor and wielded spears with cold expressions. The guards opened up a path with their spears, separating the crowd instantly. Who's causing trouble? The leader had a dignified expression and a sharp gaze as he looked at Suzimo, Ding Yu and the others before asking slowly. Suzimo swept his spirit consciousness and saw that the leader of the guards was at the level 8 Black Essence realm. So, it's Commander Liu. When Ding Yu caught sight of that person, His earlier arrogance vanished instantly as he revealed a pandering smile. He closed in and bowed. "Greetings, Commander Liu. I'm Ding Yu. Long time no see. This is a small gift as a token of my respect. Please accept it, Commander Liu." As he said that, Ding Yu took out a storage bag and handed it over. Commander Liu received it naturally and opened the storage bag to take a look. Nodding his head in satisfaction, he flipped his palm and kept it. Su Zimo frowned slightly. To think that a commander of Dragon Abyss City would receive a gift from Ding Yu in front of everyone without caring about the gazes of others. As for the surrounding cultivators, they had calm expressions, as though they were already used to this. "Fellow Taoist Su, don't offend the guards of Dragon Abyss City." When Yu Hao saw that Su Zimo's expression was amiss, he hurriedly reminded with a voice transmission. Although Dragon Abyss City is a remote city under the jurisdiction of Green Cloud County, it's also under the jurisdiction of the Great Jin Country. We can't afford to offend it. Many of these guard commanders are native exalted immortals. In their eyes, our lives are like ants that can be crushed at will. Su Zimo remained silent. Even without Yu Hao's reminder, he would not provoke this Commander Liu. On the one hand, Commander Liu's cultivation realm was at the level 8 Black Essence realm. On the other hand, this was Dragon Abyss City. He would be courting death by offending a commander of Dragon Abyss City here. Even with his capabilities, he could not escape unscathed. After accepting Ding Yu's storage bag, Commander Liu's expression softened as he asked, "What's going on here?" Ding Yu smiled hurriedly. Reporting to Commander Liu, "It's just a small matter. The transaction in the city is conducted on a first-come, first-served basis. Initially, I took a liking to an item. To think that this blind fool would buy that item while I was distracted." "Fellow Taoist, you're twisting the facts." Yu Hao stood out and said in a deep voice, "You weren't here when we were talking to this stall owner." "Is that so? Why don't you ask the stall owner who came first?" Ding Yu sneered and turned to look at the middle-aged stall owner with a threatening gaze. The middle-aged stall owner lamented internally. He knew that Su Zimo and the others were the ones who bought it first. However, the situation was pressing, and Ding Yu had the support of Commander Liu. As such, he did not dare to tell the truth and merely stammered with a troubled expression. Suddenly, Commander Liu said, "All right, this isn't a big deal. If you guys insist on your opinions, you can head to the night marketplace and fight. The item will belong to whoever that wins. That will be fair for all of you." A commotion broke out in the crowd. On the surface, Commander Liu said that it was fair. However, if they were to fight in the night marketplace, life and death was not an issue. Furthermore, Su Zimo was at level 5 of the Black Essence realm while Ding Yu was at level 6. No matter how one looked at it, this was not a fair fight. "I'm fine with that," Ding Yu agreed excitedly. "Do you have a problem?" Commander Liu looked at Su Zimo and said indifferently, "If you refuse, hand that thing over and return it to Ding Yu right now." Chapter 1837, Crisis. Chapter 1837, Crisis. "Are you going to fight personally?" Su Zimo shifted his gaze towards Ding Yu, who was not far away. Ding Yu raised his head slightly and said proudly, "Of course. I'll personally retrieve what belongs to me and give it to Little Li." Su Zimo nodded without hesitation. "Sure." Yu Hao and the others remained silent. They had witnessed Su Zimo's capabilities personally. Even in a head-on fight, Ding Yu might not be a match for Su Zimo. Ding Yu was extremely confident and did not take Su Zimo seriously. In his opinion, the reason why Su Zimo agreed so readily was because he had no other choice under the pressure of Commander Liu. Commander Liu nodded slightly in satisfaction. In his eyes, be it Ding Yu or Su Zimo, they were just two lowlifes. However, Ding Yu was a tactful lowlife. Cultivation was boring, especially on the remote Dragon Abyss Star in Green Cloud County. Even as the guards of Great Jin Country, they did not have much entertainment. Watching lowlifes fight one another to the death was one of their few pleasures. "That green-robed cultivator looks familiar." Right then, a voice sounded from the crowd. Immediately after, another person said, "That seems to be the person with the bounty from the evil wolf army." His name is Su Zimo. Indeed, there's a resemblance. That's him. The crowd discussed. At that moment, countless gazes landed on Su Zimo. There was heat, hostility, greed, killing intent, and pity. Any black immortal would be tempted by the bounty of 100,000 essence condensation pills. More and more cultivators gathered. Under the gazes of so many people, Yu Hao and the others who were standing beside Su Zimo felt waves of pressure and panicked. It was hard to imagine the pressure that Su Zimo was under at the center of the storm. Everyone looked at Su Zimo instinctively, and their hearts skipped a beat. Even under such circumstances, Su Zimo's expression was calm, as though he could not sense the hostile gazes. This person's temperament and courage are truly rare. In the crowd, a yellow-robed woman nodded slightly and said softly. There were more than 10 cultivators surrounding the yellow-robed lady, protecting her. Behind the yellow-robed lady stood a middle-aged burly man. He looked strong and energetic. Mistress, you were right. He is indeed unusual. The middle-aged burly man said softly. There was another group of people not far away from the yellow-robed woman. The person in the middle was also a beautiful woman. She looked like she had a prominent status and was protected by everyone. She wore a light blue dress that reached the ground, and her eyes shone with lightning. The blue-dressed woman seemed to have heard what the yellow-robed woman said and suddenly smiled. Sister Su is right. Unfortunately, his cultivation realm is a little low. Now that he offended Ding Yu and is hunted down by the evil wolf army, he's truly not worth befriending. The yellow-robed lady smiled and did not argue. Instead, she asked, Sister Yuan, are you here for that thing as well? That's for sure. The blue-dressed woman smiled. Isn't it the reason why the 8 major factions are gathered in Dragon Abyss City at this time? The yellow-robed lady replied, Not exactly. From what I know, no one from Blood Sun Valley came. Sister Su, I'll see you at the night workshop. I hope you can show mercy then. The blue-dressed woman said and turned to leave. The conversation between the two of them was impossible to distinguish in the noisy crowd. However, Su Zimo possessed the green lotus true body and his hearing was terrifying. He caught the conversation between the two of them clearly in the noisy crowd. Although their conversation was short, it revealed a lot of information. This time round, it was as though a treasure had appeared and was about to be auctioned at the night marketplace. As such, the 8 major factions of Dragon Abyss Star were gathered. From the looks of it, the 8 major factions placed great importance on that treasure. The people sent over were also important figures of the major factions. Ding Yu, Jiang Li, and Chen Xinyang, who had his arms severed by Su Zimo, were all the young masters and daughters of the major factions. So, it's you. When Ding Yu heard the discussions around him, he could not help but burst into laughter. Seems like the bounty of 100,000 essence condensation pills is mine. Ha 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 ha. To Ding Yu, Su Zimo was already a dead man. You had better not leave the city. Ding Yu looked at Su Zimo with a smile. There are countless eyes watching you right now. Once you leave, I guarantee that you'll be torn into pieces by many cultivators. You'll only have a chance of survival if you fight me in the night marketplace. With that said, Ding Yu burst into laughter and left smugly. As he had said, he was not worried that Su Zimo would leave Dragon Abyss City. Now that Su Zimo's identity was exposed, countless people wanted to attack him for the bounty of 100,000 essence condensation pills from the evil wolf army. No one could attack in Dragon Abyss City. However, once they left Dragon Abyss City, they could kill at will even at the city gate. With Ding Yu's departure, the crowd dispersed as well. However, in reality, there were still many cultivators lingering around the vicinity, watching Su Zimo's movements. Yu Hao and the others had grim expressions. The current situation was extremely disadvantageous for them. Even if they could survive the calamity of the night marketplace, they would be hunted down by many cultivators the moment they left Dragon Abyss City. Fellow Taoist Su. Right then, a soft cry sounded from behind Su Zimo. Su Zimo looked back. Not far away, a group of cultivators walked over. Their leader was dressed in yellow robes and had a faint smile on her face as she cupped his fists towards Su Zimo. Yu Hao glanced at the patterns on the sleeves of the cultivators and said softly with a focused gaze, "These are people from Twin Dragon Sect?" Twin Dragon Sect, one of the 8 major factions. Twin Dragon Sect was established by 2 Grade 8 Black Immortals. It was said that the 2 of them were sworn siblings and had some dragon blood flowing through their bodies. They were extremely strong. All major factions on the Dragon Abyss Star typically had unique emblems on their attires and badges. There was a divine dragon tattooed on each sleeve of those from Twin Dragon Sect. What's going on? Why are all the major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star here at this time? Shenfei muttered softly. The yellow-robed woman approached with a smile. "I'm Su Wan from Twin Dragon Sect." Gu Wenjun sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness. "I heard that one of the sect masters of Twin Dragon Sect is surnamed Su. I'm Su Zimo." Su Zimo cupped his fists in return with a questioning gaze. Su Wan smiled gently and asked, "Fellow Taoist Su, how confident are you for tonight's battle?" "It's all right." Su Zimo replied ambiguously. Su Wan sent a voice transmission. "If you trust me, I can secretly send you out of the city to avoid this battle." Su Zimo looked at Su Wan deeply. Su Wan's gaze was sincere, and she did not dodge at all. That surprised Su Zimo slightly. Given the current situation, there were countless people who wanted to take his life in exchange for the high bounty of the evil wolf army. To think that someone would be willing to stand out and help him. Chapter 1838, Sal Tree Leaf. Chapter 1838, Sal Tree Leaf. "Thank you for your kindness." Su Zimo declined. "However, I still want to check out the night marketplace." When Su Wan saw Su Zimo's rejection, she did not mention this matter anymore. Instead, she continued, "From what I know, apart from Blood Sun Valley, many cultivators from the 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star are here to take part in the night marketplace. Do you know why, fellow Taoist Su?" "I don't know." Su Zimo shook his head. "Please enlighten me, fellow Taoist." Su Wan said, "There's a treasure being auctioned at the night marketplace this time round. It's a leaf of the Sal tree." "Mm." Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. The Sal tree was one of the 3 sacred trees of the Buddhist monasteries. Legend has it that Buddha was born beneath the Ashoka tree and comprehended the Tao beneath the Bodhi tree. Eventually, he underwent nirvana beneath the Sal tree. Each of the 3 sacred trees possessed an incredible might. A mere withered siraka flower on Tianhuang mainland possessed the power of life and allowed Su Zimo to reconstruct his golden core. Of course, in a minor kiliacosm like Tianhuang mainland, there was no way one could come into contact with the 3 sacred trees. A single siraka flower in Tianhuang mainland was already an utmost treasure of the Buddhist monasteries. To think that he would obtain information of another sacred tree of the Buddhist monasteries, the Sal tree, the moment he ascended to the upper world. Furthermore, it was on the remote Dragon Abyss Star. Although it was only a leaf, it definitely contained a powerful might. More importantly, Buddha underwent nirvana beneath the Sal tree. If he could obtain that leaf, would it be of unexpected help to him in comprehending the Prajna Nirvana Sutra? This Sal tree is one of the 3 sacred trees of the Buddhist monasteries. When Su Wan saw that Su Zimo was silent, she thought that he had not heard of the famous Sal tree and explained the origin of the tree briefly. Pausing for a moment, Su Wan continued, "If you can obtain this leaf of the Sal tree, you can gather heaven and earth essence chi and make the surrounding essence chi richer. That way, be it the growth or cultivation speed of the immortal herb, everything will speed up." "Oh." Su Zimo raised his brow. Su Wan replied, "The essence nourishing grass and the rain frost flower ripens in 100 years. It's said that with the augmentation of this leaf, the maturity period of the 2 immortal herbs can be reduced by 10 years. "That's incredible." Su Zimo lamented internally, secretly in awe. At the side, Duan Tianliang, Big Yellow, and the Yingzhao had strange expressions. Among everyone present, only the 3 of them knew Su Zimo's background. According to Su Wan, With the leaf of the sal tree, the two immortal herbs would ripen in 90 years. However, immortal herbs around Su Zimo ripened within a single year. If the news of a 10 years reduction was enough for the 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star to gather, news of Su Zimo's ability would probably attract the attention of even Earth and Heaven immortals. Of course, even if the sal tree leaf did nothing to speed up the growth of the immortal herbs, he would want to obtain it as well. That leaf had an extremely special meaning to his cultivation. However, by the looks of it, at least 7 factions were fighting for that leaf. It would most likely be extremely difficult for him to get his hands on it. Fellow Taoist Su, have you joined any faction? If not, why don't you join Twin Dragon Sect? Suwon made an invitation. Fellow Taoist, if you're willing to join our sect, Twin Dragon Sect will definitely step in to resolve this crisis with all our might. Thank you for your kind intentions, fellow Taoist. Su Zimo cupped his fists gently. Let me consider this matter. Su Wan did not insist. Fellow Taoist, if you've made up your mind, you can come look for me at any time. The two of them exchanged a few more words before bidding farewell and leaving. Miss, although this person is courageous, he's only a grade 5 black immortal and has offended the evil wolf army. Why did you take the initiative to recruit him? After Su Zimo left, the middle-aged burly man behind Su Wan asked with a frown. I have no idea as well. Su Wan said thoughtfully, I just feel that this person is special. Actually, Su Wan inherited her father's bloodline and a trickle of dragon blood flowed through her body as well. As for Su Zimo, he possessed the dragon phoenix essence spirit. Even a true divine dragon would have to bow down in the face of a dragon phoenix, let alone Su Wan who merely had a trickle of dragon blood. Therefore, Su Wan had a special feeling the moment she saw Su Zimo. Under Yu Hao's lead, Su Zimo arrived at a residence in Dragon Abyss City and handed over more than 3 million immortal herbs in exchange for more than 300,000 essence condensation pills. Including the essence condensation pills he obtained from the Blood Sun Valley army, he had close to 500,000 essence condensation pills in his storage bag. Those essence condensation pills were enough for him to cultivate for a long time. Fellow Taoist Su, if you can obtain the protection of Twin Dragon Sect, you might truly have a chance of resolving this calamity. Yu Hao analyzed. Yu Hao and the others were not worried about the fight between Su Zimo and Ding Yu. In their opinion, even if Su Zimo was defeated, he would be able to survive with the methods he displayed previously. The true danger was the pursuit of the other cultivators after leaving Dragon Abyss City. At that moment, they did not know that the evil wolf army had already received the news and was sending an army over. A protector of Blood Sun Valley was about to arrive at Dragon Abyss City as well. Although Dragon Abyss City seemed calm, there were already undercurrents surging. Today's events and subsequent development had completely exceeded everyone's expectations. After exchanging for the essence condensation pills, Su Zimo found a random place to rest and recuperate while waiting for night to descend. In his boredom, Su Zimo took out the turtle shell from his storage bag and examined it carefully. Others might not be able to tell how special the turtle shell was, but Su Zimo had once cultivated the black tortoise phenomenon and even possessed the innate divine power of the spirit turtle shield. He discovered right away that there was something strange about the patterns on the turtle shell. Su Zimo stared at the patterns on the turtle shell for a long time without even realizing that night had fallen. Yu Hao had to push Su Zimo gently to wake him up. Fellow Taoist Su, the night marketplace has already opened, Yu Hao reminded. Unable to contain his curiosity, Shin Fei asked, What's so special about this turtle shell that you're so engrossed in it, fellow Taoist? Su Zimo smiled and did not hide anything. The patterns on the turtle shell were actually etched by later generations. There's a formation diagram recorded on it. The formation diagram recorded on the turtle shell was far from the formations of the lower world and was extremely mysterious. Even with Su Zimo's attainments in array formations, he had some difficulties understanding it. That was the reason why he was immersed in it and forgot about the passage of time. Let's go to the night marketplace. Putting away the turtle shell, Su Zimo rose with a look of joy in his eyes. The value of this turtle shell was more than 2 million essence condensation pills, even 20 million. Everyone followed the crowd, and before long, they arrived at an extremely ordinary-looking residence. However, after entering the residence, they saw a gigantic underground entrance. Everyone walked down the stairs, and after a while, they heard a commotion. After turning a corner, the path ahead opened up and a gigantic and luxurious palace stood not far away. It was brightly lit and filled with figures. Chapter 1839. Auction. Chapter 1839. Auction. There were many guards guarding the surroundings of the palace, and their cultivation realms were not low. If anyone dared to cause trouble here, the guards would attack immediately. Suzimo and the others paused for a moment before heading towards the entrance of the underground palace. Yuhao and the others had only heard of the night marketplace before. This was their first time here, and they surveyed the place curiously. After entering the palace, there was a commotion. Although the palace was built underground, it was spacious and could accommodate at least tens of thousands of people. In the middle of the palace was a gigantic raised platform. At the top of the palace, there was a circle of resting areas with various spirit fruits and immortal peaches in front of them that emitted fragrance. Those seats were above the many cultivators below and had the best view. Only those with noble statuses could take the seats. Many cultivators were already seated and chatting among themselves. Suzimo could clearly see that there were even a few grade 8 black immortals among them. Yuhao whispered, "Those who can sit on it are usually the exalted immortals of Dragon Abyss City. They call the shots in the city and are famous. The 8 major factions are nothing in the eyes of these exalted immortals. Look at the young masters of these factions. They can only stand below." The high platform was already filled with people. Suzimo swept his gaze. Before long, he caught sight of some familiar faces in the crowd below. Ding Yu of Black Een Mountain and Jiang Li of Heavenly Fire Palace each occupied an area. The two of them stood at the front with many cultivators guarding behind them. At the same time, Ding Yu caught sight of Suzimo. Ding Yu sneered at Suzimo and placed his palm beneath his neck, making a beheading gesture in a provocative manner. Suzimo retracted his gaze and ignored it. Another group of people stood in the area beside Ding Yu. Their leader was a young man with a menacing expression. He was the young master of one of the 8 factions, Heaven Bane sect. Brother Ding, to think that this lad would dare to accept the challenge. The young master of Heaven Bane sect gestured with his hands. Ding Yu smiled. He has no choice. Commander Liu gave the order personally. If he dares to disobey, he's courting death. The young master of Heaven Bane sect held a huge pork joint in his hands and grinned, his mouth filled with grease. "I'll wish you success here then, brother." The moment Suzimo entered the palace, many people on the raised platform looked over. Apart from Blood Sun Valley, the other 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star, Heavenly Scorpion Stronghold, Thunder Shock Hall, Twin Dragon Sect, Heaven Bane Sect, Black Een Mountain, Heavenly Fire Palace, and Blacklight Sect were all present. Fellow Taoist Su, this way? Right then, a soft cry sounded from the crowd. Not far away, Suwon of Twin Dragon Sect beckoned to Suzimo. Although the people from the major factions were also standing below, they were all close to the raised platform and occupied an area each with a good view. Hesitating slightly, Suzimo still walked over. Ding Yu and the others sneered when they saw that. A look of surprise flashed through the blue-dressed woman's eyes as well. In the eyes of everyone, Suzimo was already a man on the brink of death. Nobody expected Twin Dragon Sect to choose to befriend him at this moment. At that moment, everyone was gathered in the hall. However, the auction for the night marketplace had yet to begin. Before long, a group of people walked in slowly from the entrance of the palace. Their leader was Commander Liu. At that moment, Commander Liu had already changed out of his armor and wore an ordinary brocade robe, heading towards his seat at the top. "Brother Liu, you're late. We've been waiting for you." A square-faced, burly man greeted Commander Liu from his seat. Suwon whispered, "This is another commander of Dragon Abyss City, Yin Fei. His status is similar to Commander Liu." Yin Fei said, "Brother Liu, I heard that you've arranged a fight today? Commander Lu smiled faintly. I'm just playing around. Do you want to make a bet with me, Brother Yin? Oh, with what? Yin Fei asked. Commander Lu said, let's bet on your rainbow sword art. If I win, can you lend it to me? Ha ha. Yin Fei burst into laughter. You've been coveting my sword art for quite some time now. You've sure planned this well. I heard that there's a difference of a cultivation realm between the two of them today. Commander Lu said, we can change the way we gamble. We'll bet on how many rounds Ding you will take to kill that person. That's interesting. Yin Fei rubbed his chin in deep thought. Both of them did not conceal their conversation given their high statuses. Although Su Zimo and the others were in the crowd, they heard their conversation clearly. Su Wan smiled bitterly and sent a voice transmission secretly, fellow Taoist Su. Those of us who ascended from the lower world are merely toys in their eyes. These exalted immortals often arrange for such fights and gambles. This is one of their joys. Su Zimo was silent. To be precise, Commander Lu and the other exalted immortals did not take them seriously at all. Everyone, please be silent. Right then, a pleasant voice sounded from the raised platform. Unknowingly, a woman had already arrived on the raised platform. Wearing a thin veil, her alluring and graceful figure was faintly discernible. Her red lips were flirtatious and charming to the bones. Xin Fei was stunned and could not help but gulp. Exalted immortals, please take your seats. Today's auction shall officially begin. The veiled woman smiled gently. Su Wan said in a low voice, typically, fights between cultivators will only begin after the auction is over. Su Zimo nodded. On the raised platform, the veiled woman waved her hand gently. Not far away, a young girl walked over and ascended the raised platform with light steps. She held a tray with both hands that was covered with a black cloth. The first item up for auction is a cultivation technique, the Heavenly Thunder Dragon Tiger Sutra, a high-quality light-grade technique. The veiled woman lifted the black cloth and revealed an ancient book within. There were 4 grades of cultivation techniques: heaven, earth, black, and light. Each grade had different qualities. Right now, most of the cultivation techniques cultivated by the cultivators of the Dragon Abyss Star were low quality and could not even be considered as low-quality light grade. Now that the Heavenly Thunder Dragon Tiger Sutra appeared, it attracted the attention of many cultivators. The blue-dressed woman from Thundershock Hall was invigorated as she glared at the ancient book with a burning gaze. The starting price of this cultivation technique is 500,000 essence condensation pills. The veiled woman said slowly. Good Lord, the starting price is 500,000 essence condensation pills. Duan Tianliang shuddered and almost bit his tongue. Su Zimo frowned slightly as well. Even the number of essence condensation pills in his storage bag was less than 500,000. Of course, he was not interested in the ancient book. Although he did not know the grade of the Prajna Nirvana Sutra, it was definitely above Earth grade and might even be a heaven grade cultivation technique. If that was not the case, he would not have been able to subdue Yin Yang and fuse the Dragon Phoenix and Green Lotus essence spirits. Chapter 1840, Sentient Dharmic Treasure. Chapter 1840, Sentient Dharmic Treasure. The auction continued, and after an intense fight, the blue-dressed woman from Thundershock Hall spent 3 million essence condensation pills to obtain the Heavenly Thunder Dragon Tiger Sutra. Thereafter, the auction displayed some immortal pills, talismans, dharmic treasures, and other items one after another. Every single treasure was sold for millions of essence condensation pills. Many cultivators of the major factions placed bids as well. However, it was clear that the major factions had restrained themselves and were waiting for the final treasure, the Sal Tree Leaf. Right then, another item was placed on the table. The item looked dim and dull, like a shard that fell off an ancient bronze mirror. Initially, Su Zimo did not feel anything towards the mirror shard. However, the moment the mirror shard was displayed, the bronze square tripod in his consciousness stirred. Su Zimo narrowed his eyes slightly. Previously, The bronze square tripod had only reacted this way when a broken sword was discovered in the storage bag of the commander of the evil wolf army. Later on, the bronze square tripod smelted the broken sword. Immediately after, the divine dragon on the outer wall of the bronze square tripod awakened and imparted to him an extremely powerful movement technique, the true Dragon 9 flashes. It was clear that some Dharmic treasures and weapons were required to repair the bronze square tripod. However, no matter the quality of the dark-grade Dharmic treasures that Su Zimo collected, there would be no reaction when they were placed in the bronze square tripod. He did not know what type of Dharmic treasures and weapons the bronze square tripod required. What's that? It's just a shard. What's so special about it? Some cultivators below could not help but ask curiously. The veiled woman smiled charmingly. Everyone, please calm down and answer me first. Do you know what's the realm above the heaven immortal realm? Instantly, the crowd went silent. Many cultivators exchanged puzzled glances. They only knew about the black, earth, and heaven immortals. They had not even seen an earth immortal expert before, let alone anyone above that. I heard that it's perfected immortal. Before long, a voice sounded from the crowd. It was the young master of Black Light sect who probed. That's right. The veiled woman nodded slightly. Perfected immortal experts are above heaven immortals. Everyone, do you know what grade of Dharmic treasures perfected immortal experts use? Everyone shook their heads and discussed softly. A thought flashed through the mind of the young master of Black Light sect as he declared, everyone knows that black immortals use black-grade Dharmic treasures, earth immortals use earth-grade Dharmic treasures, heaven immortals use heaven-grade Dharmic treasures, and so on. Perfected immortals should use perfect-grade Dharmic treasures. Phew! A stifled laughter sounded from the seats high above. How ignorant! Commander Liu and the others looked at the young master of Black Light sect as though they were looking at an idiot with disdain. The young master of Black Light sect flushed red from being mocked in front of everyone and felt utterly humiliated. However, the other party was a commander of Dragon Abyss City, and he did not dare to get angry. He could only lower his head and grit his teeth in frustration. The veiled woman said in a deep voice, the weapon used by perfected immortals is a sentient Dharmic treasure, also known as a spirit treasure. A sentient Dharmic treasure. Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. Suddenly, he recalled that back in Tianhuang mainland, when Dai fought against many experts of the upper world, an ancient bell descended. Dai had once scolded that this person did not dare to descend with his true body and merely used a sentient Dharmic treasure to test the waters. In that case, the person who attacked should be a perfected immortal expert. The veiled woman continued, the so-called sentient Dharmic treasure means that it has gained sentience and consciousness. The power of such a Dharmic treasure is increased tremendously and contains many unexpected mysteries. This mirror shard is none other than a fragment of a spirit treasure. The other Dharmic treasures were just weapons and were dead objects. However, a sentient Dharmic treasure was a living being with life. Su Zimo's eyes lit up, and he suddenly came to a realization. The bronze square tripod should be a sentient Dharmic treasure. That was because without Su Zimo's control, the tripod could smelt weapons to repair itself. Wasn't that a form of sentience? Wasn't that the same sentience described in the legends? At the same time, Su Zimo vaguely deduced something. If he wanted to repair the bronze square tripod, he would require at least a sentient Dharmic treasure. Back when he ascended, the expert who tried to kill him was clearly stronger than a perfected immortal. He was an immortal king that the mysterious woman mentioned. The bronze square tripod could only repair one of its walls after devouring and smelting an immortal king weapon. Given Su Zimo's current strength, he had no chance of coming into contact with an immortal king weapon. Even for sentient Dharmic treasures, he only managed to obtain a single fragment. There was still a long way to go to repair the bronze square tripod completely. Even if it's a fragment of a spirit treasure, it's crippled and completely useless now. What can this fragment be used for? It's definitely useless. If it was a true treasure, we wouldn't have had a chance. The exalted immortals in the city would have taken it a long time ago. The crowd below broke into a discussion after the veiled woman's explanation. The veiled woman smiled gently. No matter what, this is a fragment of a sentient Dharmic treasure. If there's anything mysterious about it, we can only leave it for the person who bought it to explore. How much is this thing? Someone asked. The starting bid for this spirit treasure fragment is 1 million essence condensation pills. Every bid increment must not be less than 10,000, the veiled woman said. Everyone shook their heads. Nobody wanted to spend 1 million essence condensation pills to buy a useless fragment. After the veiled woman said that, no one started bidding. I'll bid for 1 million. Right then, a voice sounded from the crowd. Everyone turned towards the voice. It was the green-robed cultivator who wanted to fight Dingyu. Suwon looked at Su Zimo in surprise as well. She had not expected that Su Zimo would want to buy such a seemingly useless spirit treasure fragment after a night of silence. While the spirit treasure fragment might be useless in the hands of others, it was extremely useful to Su Zimo. This person sure is ambitious. He's even taking part in the auction when he's about to die. That's right. Why doesn't he spend the time thinking about how he's going to leave this place alive later? Many cultivators shook their heads and mocked. This fellow Taoist is bidding 1 million. Are there any higher bids? The veiled woman surveyed her surroundings and asked loudly. 1,010,000. Right then, Dingyu spoke and smiled at Su Zimo. Raising his head slightly, his eyes were filled with provocation and mockery. He had no intention of getting his hands on that spirit treasure fragment. He was merely raising the price deliberately. He did not add much, just 10,000. Su Zimo's expression was unchanged as he said indifferently, 3 million. Whoosh! A commotion broke out in the crowd. Nobody expected that this unassuming green-robe cultivator would be able to produce 3 million essence condensation pills. This person was only a grade 5 black immortal. How could a grade 5 black immortal have so many essence condensation pills? Chapter 1841. Ownership of the Leaf. Chapter 1841. Ownership of the Leaf. Fufu. Suddenly, Dingyu sneered, 3 million essence condensation pills is not something that a grade 5 black immortal like you can casually take out. You must be intentionally causing trouble at this auction. Without another word, Dingyu pinned a crime on Su Zimo. Suwon frowned slightly and sent a voice transmission hurriedly, fellow Taoist Su. If you can't take out 3 million essence condensation pills, it's better not to bid. Otherwise, you'll get into trouble. The veiled woman on the raised platform looked at Su Zimo and asked with a smile, fellow Taoist, can you take out 3 million essence condensation pills for me to take a look at? On what basis? Shenfei felt indignant and asked, the others were bidding as well? Why didn't you check on the others? Dingyu and the others roared in laughter with disdainful expressions. The veiled woman was extremely patient and explained, most of the other cultivators are from major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star or have significant cultivation realms. However, this fellow Taoist is only a grade 5 black immortal. 3 million essence condensation pills is not a small sum. Shenfei wanted to argue, but Su Zimo raised his hand slightly to stop him. Thereafter, he threw a storage bag over and asked, take a look at these things. Are they worth 3 million essence condensation pills? The veiled woman received the storage bag and scanned it with her spirit consciousness. Her petite body shuddered, and a look of surprise flashed through her eyes. There were more than 1,000 black-grade Dharmic treasures in the storage bag. Although they were all inferior black-grade, a single inferior black-grade Dharmic treasure was worth around 10,000 essence condensation pills. In other words, the value of that storage bag was around 10 million essence condensation pills. The veiled woman's expression returned to normal before long as she handed the storage bag back to Su Zimo. Fellow Taoist, please keep it well. You're indeed qualified to bid. Su Zimo obtained more than 3,000 black-grade Dharmic treasures after killing the army of Blood Sun Valley. There was no need for him to take them all out, and he merely took out 1,000 inferior black-grade Dharmic treasures and tossed them over. Many cultivators were shocked by the veiled woman's words. Even Su-won turned around and looked at Su-zimo deeply. She realized that the green-robed man seemed to be even more mysterious than she had imagined. The commanders and exalted immortals seated on the raised platform were not bothered by this small interlude at the auction. However, Commander Yin Fei narrowed his gaze and sent a voice transmission to the veiled woman. Li Ji, what was in his storage bag earlier on? Li Ji hurriedly sent a voice transmission with her spirit consciousness and replied, there are 1,000 inferior black-grade Dharmic treasures in that storage bag. Oh. Yin Fei looked at Su-zimo in the crowd, and his eyes flickered in deep thought. 3 million going once. Anyone else? The veiled woman surveyed her surroundings and asked loudly. The auction continued. Dingyu did not expect to return empty-handed after his attack. He could not help but feel frustrated. Just as he was about to continue raising the bid, the guard behind him sent a voice transmission secretly. Young master, you can't. Why? Dingyu frowned. The guard said, the most important thing for us to do this time round is to get our hands on the sal tree leaf. There's no need for us to waste our essence condensation pills on this. Furthermore, so what if he buys it? He'll still die in your hands later on. Isn't his storage bag still yours? Dingyu was enlightened and nodded to himself. The guard continued, if you raise the price too high and he can't afford it, we'll be the ones at a loss if he suddenly backs off. You're not wrong. Dingyu smiled and decided not to raise the bid. The veiled woman shouted twice more, but still, no one raised the bid. Only then did she announce that the spirit treasure fragment belonged to Su-zimo. After bidding for the fragment, someone sent it to Su-zimo. Su-zimo took out 300 inferior black-grade Dharmic treasures from his storage bag and placed them in a storage bag before handing them over. Inferior black-grade Dharmic treasures could easily be exchanged for essence condensation pills in Dragon Abyss City. Everyone, the next treasure is the leaf of one of the 3 legendary sacred trees of the Buddhist monasteries, the Sal tree. Immediately after, the veiled woman finally removed the veil of the treasure. A palm-sized leaf was placed on a crystalline jade plate. The leaf was rather strange. It was a compound leaf made up of 7 leaves. The leaf had fallen for a long time and was already slightly yellowed. Even so, many cultivators could sense that the heaven and earth essence chi around the leaf had turned richer. Everyone from the major factions were invigorated and their gazes burned. When Su-zimo noticed that, he thought to himself, by the looks of it, it's going to be difficult to bid for the sal tree leaf. The veiled woman did not introduce much and went straight to the point. The starting bid for the sal tree leaf is 10 million essence condensation pills. Each increment must not be less than 100,000. Fuck! Shinfei exclaimed and nearly bit his tongue. Gu Wenjun was equally shocked as she whispered, the starting price is already so high. Yu Hao explained softly, the sal tree leaf can accelerate the growth of the immortal herbs and bring benefits to the major factions that are far beyond 10 million essence condensation pills. Furthermore, the benefits only increase over time. Su-won nodded as well. The only risk is that the sal tree leaf is already turning yellow. Once it withers completely, it won't possess the effect anymore. Even so, all the major factions swarmed over and placed bids one after another. 11 million, 12 million, 15,000,000. As time passed by, the bid for the sal tree leaf increased as well. During this period of time, Su-won even shouted a bid once. However, she was quickly suppressed by the other factions. Initially, the bids of the major factions rose rapidly. However, later on, when the price rose to 30 million essence condensation pills, the bids of the major factions became slower and more cautious. In the end, 5 of the 7 factions withdrew from the competition. Only Black Een Mountain and Black Light Sect were left. Even if Su-zimo exchanged for the remaining black-grade Dharmic treasures in his storage bag, he would only have less than 30 million essence condensation pills. He had already temporarily given up on competing for the sal tree leaf. Sister Su, who do you think this leaf will end up with? The blue-dressed woman of Thundershock Hall asked. Su-won said deeply, it should be Black Een Mountain. Why do you say that? The blue-dressed woman was surprised. Suan said, "The reason why Ding Yu and Jiangli of Heavenly Fire Palace are here is because of this leaf. I'm guessing that the two factions have already joined forces. No matter how rich Black Light Sect is, they can't compare to the foundation of the two factions. Indeed." Before long, when the price of the leaves rose to 35 million essence condensation pills, Black Light Sect withdrew. Ding Yu was delighted. Jiangli of Heavenly Fire Palace heaved a sigh of relief as well. Chapter 1842, Showdown. Chapter 1842, Showdown. Now that the Sal tree leaf was sold, the auction of the night was over. Thereafter, it was time for the cultivators to fight. In the high seats of the palace, Commander Yin Fei suddenly said, "Brother Liu, how do you explain the gambit you mentioned earlier on?" "Are you interested, Brother Yin?" Commander Liu chuckled. "There's no doubt that Ding Yu will be able to kill this person. Let's bet on how many rounds he takes." In Commander Liu's heart, given Ding Yu's capabilities, it was extremely easy for him to kill a grade 5 black immortal. 10 rounds was enough. However, out of caution, he pondered for a moment before saying slowly, "I'll bet that Ding Yu will kill this person in 20 rounds. Yin Fei smiled. "All right, since that's the case, I'll bet that this person can last 50 rounds. Ha 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 ha." When he heard that, Commander Liu burst into laughter. "Brother Yin, you're bound to lose this round. Seems like your rainbow sword art is destined to be read by me." Yin Fei's expression was calm. "If I lose, I'll naturally hand over the sword art with both hands. What happens if you lose? You've coveted my burning sea heaven pattern technique for many years. If I lose, I'll lend you this cultivation technique." Commander Liu waved his hand confidently. "All right." Yin Fei's eyes lit up. If he could cultivate the burning sea heaven pattern technique, there was a high chance that his cultivation would advance, and he might even have a chance to advance to the level 9 Black Essence realm. Commander Liu stood up and declared, "There's no need to wait. Arrange for the lowlifes to fight. The first match will be between Ding Yu and that person." Given Commander Liu's status in Dragon Abyss City, he could naturally change the schedule at will. Ding Yu was eager and excited as well. Commander Liu looked at Ding Yu with a stern expression. "Ding Yu, I've got a gambit with someone. I'll only give you 20 rounds. You had better not disappoint me." "Don't worry, Commander Liu. 3 rounds will suffice." Ding Yu was high-spirited and confident as he cupped his fists. Still worried, Commander Liu reminded, "Don't underestimate your opponent." "I will heed your teachings, Commander Liu." Ding Yu bowed hurriedly with a humble expression. On the other side, Su Zimo sensed something from the crowd and frowned, turning to look at a seat high above. A square-faced cultivator was looking at him with a fake smile. It was the commander named Yin Fei. The palace was bustling with people. Although outsiders could not hear the gambit between Yin Fei and Commander Liu, Su Zimo heard it clearly. Yin Fei seemed to know something, and that was why he dared to make that gambit with Commander Liu. The blue-dressed woman of Thunder Shock Hall shook her head and looked at Su Zimo. "You really shouldn't have accepted this battle. Do you know that the battle won't end unless one party dies in that arena?" "What does that mean?" Yu Hao frowned and could not help but ask. Suwon explained, "There's an array formation in the arena. Once both parties enter the arena, the formation will activate and form a barrier similar to a cage. Unless only one person is alive in the arena, the formation barrier will continue to exist." "Oh." Su Zimo replied with a calm expression, as though he did not care. The blue-dressed woman looked at Su Zimo with pity in her eyes. "Haven't you realized your situation? At that time, it'll be useless even if you want to admit defeat. There's nowhere for you to run." Su Zimo was still indifferent. However, Duan Tianliang, who was beside him, grinned and shook his head with a sigh. "Sigh, this is bad. Someone is going to die." A look of disappointment flashed through the blue-dressed woman's eyes. Initially, she admired Su Zimo's guts and character back in Dragon Abyss City. From the looks of it, this person's courage and temperament might be because he was slow to react and wasn't smart. Even the grade 3 black immortal fatty beside him sensed the danger, but this person was oblivious. The blue-dressed woman did not realize that when Duan Tianliang said that someone was going to die, he was not referring to Su Zimo. Suddenly, Su Zimo frowned slightly and felt a strong sense of hostility and killing intent as though he was being spied on. He turned around slowly and looked in a direction in the crowd. Many cultivators were pointing at him and discussing. Su Zimo's gaze swept across the cultivators before landing on a skinny old man. The skinny old man looked no different from the surrounding crowd except that his cultivation realm was slightly higher. He was a grade 7 black immortal. Su Zimo retracted his gaze expressionlessly. At the same time, a cold glint flashed through the skinny old man's eyes as he thought to himself, "This lad's senses are so sharp." The skinny old man was Protector Shui, who had rushed over from Blood Sun Valley. At that moment, most of the cultivators in the palace were focused on Su Zimo and Ding Yu. However, under the gazes of so many people, Su Zimo could sense something unusual and capture the killing intent from him. That was a little terrifying. "Everyone, please enter the arena." The veiled woman looked at Ding Yu and Su Zimo and said slowly. Ding Yu had long been impatient. With a single leap, he arrived at the raised platform in the middle of the palace and looked down at Su Zimo with a provocative expression. "Fellow Taoist Su, watch out," Su Wan whispered. Su Zimo nodded slightly and walked out of the crowd. In a flash, he landed on the raised platform with a nimble movement technique. The moment Su Zimo entered the arena, formation patterns lit up one after another on the raised platform and converged to form a barrier. In the blink of an eye, the entire arena had turned into an impenetrable cage. Of the two people in this cage, only one could leave alive. Ding Yu has struck gold this time round? That's right. That person's head is worth 100,000 essence condensation pills. In his storage bag, there's also a spirit treasure fragment worth 3 million essence condensation pills. Once that person dies, everything will belong to Ding Yu. The cultivators below the arena discussed among themselves. When he heard those voices, Ding Yu was even more smug. He glared at Su Zimo with a ferocious gaze and laughed menacingly. "Lad, I'll let you witness my capabilities today." Blacking technique. Ding Yu's eyes shone with a strange glint as he waved his hands and conjured hand seals repeatedly, releasing the top immortal art of the Black Een Mountain. Even against a grade 5 black immortal, he did not hold back. He wanted to kill Su Zimo as soon as possible. Boom! Suddenly, Su Zimo took a step forward and his feet landed on the ground. The gigantic platform trembled and dust fell. Whoosh! A green shadow approached Ding Yu rapidly at an extremely fast speed. The figure tore through the air and even let out a strange and ear-piercing howl. The green shadow arrived instantly. Ding Yu's pupils constricted violently. The crowd exclaimed as well. "MMM?" Commander Lu's expression changed and he rose in shock. Yin Fei's eyes lit up. It was too fast. The burst of that power had exceeded everyone's expectations. Chapter 1843, Instant Kill. Chapter 1843, Instant Kill. When Ding Yu released his Black Een technique, streams of dark qi appeared where Su Zimo was initially standing and shrouded him with a chilling intent. However, Su Zimo was even faster. The moment the dark qi was formed, Su Zimo had already vanished from the spot and arrived before Ding Yu. The two of them were inches apart. Ding Yu's eyes were filled with deep panic and fear. To be precise, he was not a cultivator who had ascended from the lower world. He was born on the Dragon Abyss star of the upper world. Cultivators born in the upper world had a high foundation because they absorbed and refined heaven and earth essence qi. He had already cultivated to the level 6 black essence realm at such a young age. However, in terms of combat experience, he was far inferior to the ascender who fought his way through the lower world and experienced countless dangers before finally undergoing the tribulation transcendence with a slim chance of survival. Among the many ascenders, Su Zimo was the strongest after transcending the 4 of 9 heavenly tribulation. Su Zimo did not bother to fight him using equivalent techniques. When Dingyu released his immortal art, Su Zimo made use of his terrifying physique to burst forth and retaliate instantly. Dingyu had never seen such a terrifying burst power. Against Su Zimo, who was right in front of him, his mind was in chaos and he did not know how to defend. In his hurry, he reached out instinctively, wanting to take out his Dharmic treasure to defend. However, at this distance, Dingyu was already a dead man. Su Zimo had 100 methods to kill him on the spot. Su Zimo extended his palm and patted Dingyu on the forehead gently. Piak! Dingyu shuddered and his gaze turned sluggish as the light in his eyes dimmed rapidly. There were no injuries on his head. However, the power of that palm shattered his essence spirit. Thump! Dingyu's eyes were widened and lifeless as he fell stiffly onto the arena. With a scoop, Su Zimo removed the storage bag on Dingyu's waist and kept it. The palace fell into a dead silence. All the cultivators were dumbfounded as they looked at everything in shock and doubt. It was as though everyone was choked at that moment. How is that possible? The blue-dressed woman from Thunder Shock Hall was stunned and her eyes were filled with disbelief as she murmured in a daze, "Dingyu is dead?" The young master of Heavenly Scorpion Stronghold gloated and chuckled. "He deserves it. Who asked him to be so arrogant earlier on and fight with me for the Sal Tree Leaf?" "Young master, the Sal Tree Leaf seems to be in the possession of that person now," the guard behind him reminded softly. "Oh." The young master of Heavenly Scorpion Stronghold focused his gaze. The young masters of the other major factions were shocked as well with different expressions. When he saw that, Commander Lu's expression turned terrible as he clenched his fists. It was clear that he was enraged. He had not expected Dingyu to be so disappointing. Not only did he fail to kill Su Zimo within 20 rounds, he was even killed by a single palm strike. Yin Fei snapped out of his stupor and let out a long breath before chuckling. "Brother Lu, I won." Actually, the reason why he dared to make this bet with Commander Lu was because he had obtained some news previously and deduced something. With a dark gaze, Commander Lu did not say anything and merely glared at the green-robed cultivator coldly. With Dingyu's death, the formation barrier around the arena gradually dissipated as well. It was only then that many cultivators snapped out of their stupor and a deafening commotion broke out in the palace. "Dingyu is dead." Heavens, a grade 6 black immortal was killed by a grade 5 black immortal who was a realm beneath him. Furthermore, it was an instant kill. Dingyu could not retaliate at all and was killed by a single palm strike. It was too fast. What was the background of this man? Many cultivators guessed that even if they were in Dingyu's position and were unprepared, it would be difficult for them to avoid that fatal blow. However, Dingyu's death is equivalent to a huge trouble for that person. He's definitely not going to survive. That's right. There's no way the cultivators of Black Een Mountain will let him off. Before the sentence was finished, many cultivators of the Black Een Mountain had already lunged forward. "Young master." Some cultivators charged towards Dingyu. Dingyu's guard, the grade 7 black immortal, charged towards Su Zimo with a cold expression filled with killing intent. "Thief, pay with your life for my young master. What are you guys doing? You want to bully with numbers just because you can't win?" Yu Hao could not stand it any longer and roared. Retrieving his gigantic axe from his storage bag, he charged into the arena as well and blocked the grade 7 black immortal of the Black Een Mountain. Shenfei and Gu Wenjun attacked as well. In their hearts, Su Zimo was their savior, and they naturally would not allow him to be surrounded like this. Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow knew that their cultivation realms were not high enough and stood obediently in the crowd. Boom, boom, boom. Dharmic treasures collided. Divine powers clashed and immortal arts surged. In the blink of an eye, the entire palace fell into chaos. The surrounding cultivators retreated one after another, afraid that they would be implicated and hurt themselves. "Oh no." As though she recalled something, Su Wan frowned and exclaimed softly. On the other hand, Duan Tianliang had a relaxed expression as he waved his hand. "The few people from Black Een Mountain are not enough. Exalted Immortal, don't worry." I'm not worried about these people from Black Een Mountain. Suwon shook her head. Ding Yu's death means that Commander Liu lost the gambit earlier on. That means that fellow Taoist Su has offended this commander of Dragon Abyss City by implication. If he finds an excuse to attack, fellow Taoist Su's life will be in danger. Right then, a figure in armor barged in from outside the palace. From his attire, he was a guard of the city. Reportee. The moment the guard entered the palace, he shouted and sprinted towards Commander Liu and Yin Fei. What happened? Yin Fei stood up and asked in a deep voice. The guard said hurriedly, "There's an army of cultivators gathered outside the city, and I can vaguely hear wolves howling. It should be one of the four great bandits, the evil wolf army. There are thousands of them. What is the evil wolf army trying to do? Do they have a death wish?" Yin Fei's expression turned cold. "We did not go hunt these bandits, but they came knocking on our door? Are they declaring war on Dragon Abyss City?" "I don't think so." The guard shook his head with a hesitant expression. Commander Liu's heart skipped a beat as he suddenly said, "Brother Yin, you don't have to bother about this matter. The evil wolf army isn't here for us, it's for him." Commander Liu pointed to Su Zimo below. When many cultivators heard that, they realized that the evil wolf army was clearly here for Su Zimo. Duan Tianliang was a little nervous as well, and his palms were sweating. The situation doesn't seem too good. Ding Yu only brought more than 10 guards with him this time round. These few guards won't be able to cause much of a stir. However, the thousands of troops from the evil wolf army were all vicious and savage. Chapter 1844. So, it's him. Chapter 1844. So, it's him. Suwon could still maintain her composure as she said softly, "Don't worry, this is Dragon Abyss City. Even if all the troops of the evil wolf army are gathered, they won't dare to enter the city, let alone the thousands of them. The guards and exalted immortals of Dragon Abyss City are not to be trifled with." Duan Tianliang's expression softened when he heard Suwon's words. On the other side, the messenger guard did not leave after delivering the news. He had a hesitant expression and wanted to speak, but hesitated. "What else is there? Speak." Commander Liu was already furious after losing the gambit. When he saw the messenger guard stutter, his expression turned cold as he hollered. The messenger guard shuddered in fear and replied hurriedly, "Commander Liu, we've just received news that Chen Xianyang of Blood Sun Valley was supposed to lead an army of 5,000 to Dragon Abyss City. However, an accident happened on the way. All the major factions wanted the Sal Tree Leaf. However, there was no cultivator from Blood Sun Valley at the auction this time round. That was indeed strange." Many cultivators were enlightened when they heard that. But soon, everyone had even greater doubts. Blood Sun Valley was one of the 8 major factions, and Chen Xianyang was the young master of Blood Sun Valley. Coupled with an army of 5,000, what accidents could have happened? The messenger guard gulped. "I've received definite news that the 5,000-strong army of Blood Sun Valley was almost completely annihilated, and only a few hundred survived. The young master of Blood Sun Valley, Chen Xianyang, was severely injured and his arm was severed." The moment that news was released, it was like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples and caused an uproar in the crowd. Which faction had the means to severely injure Blood Sun Valley's army of 5,000? Which faction would have the guts to attack the army of Blood Sun Valley? Furthermore, Chen Xianyang was severely injured. One could imagine that no matter which faction it was, they had already become enemies with Blood Sun Valley and became their #1 enemy. Did the 4 great bandits do it? From what I know, 2 of the 4 great bandits, the Evil Wolf Army and the Goshawk Gang, are very close to Blood Sun Valley. It shouldn't be them. However, I've never heard of the remaining 2 of the 4 great bandits having any grudges with Blood Sun Valley. Everyone discussed but could not guess the outcome. Duan Tianliang had a strange expression and remained silent. Commander Liu had an indifferent expression when he heard the news. He did not care even if everyone in Blood Sun Valley was dead, let alone the fact that only a few thousand of them died. With the destruction of Blood Sun Valley, a second rising faction would be born. The cycle of reincarnation would repeat itself. However, Dragon Abyss City had never changed and stood firm. They were still the people with the highest statuses on the Dragon Abyss star. Commander Lu's gaze was still fixed on the green figure in the middle of the arena as he asked casually, "Oh, who did it?" "From what I know, their leader is Su Zimo, the person who was hunted down by the evil wolf army," the messenger guard said in a deep voice. "What?" Commander Lu exclaimed in shock. At the side, Yin Fei had a calm expression as though he was not surprised. When the crowd below heard that, there was a momentary silence before an even louder commotion broke out. "It's him." No wonder he dared to accept Ding Yu's challenge and killed the latter with a single palm strike. He sure is bold to lay his hands on Blood Sun Valley. That person has not only offended Blood Sun Valley, but also the evil wolf army and Blacking Mountain. The blue-dressed woman from Thunder Shock Hall was shocked and could not help but look at the green-robed cultivator on the battlefield again with a hint of bewilderment and curiosity in her eyes. Su Wan's eyes shone brightly as well. She had long noticed that Su Zimo was different. However, even she had not expected that this person had such a deep background. The burly man behind Su Wan whispered, "Miss, your judgment is truly accurate." Su Wan shook her head gently. "Uncle Lu, I've still underestimated him." The burly man named Uncle Lu pondered for a moment before sending a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness. "Miss, I know that you intend to befriend him and want to recruit him. However, from the looks of it, the risk is too great." Su Wan was silent. She could understand what Uncle Lu was implying. Indeed, Su Zimo had immense potential. Therefore, even though she knew that Su Zimo was being hunted by the evil wolf army, she wanted to befriend him. But now, Su Zimo had offended 2 of the 8 major factions, Blood Sun Valley and Blacking Mountain, as well as one of the 4 great bandits, the evil wolf army. If she were to befriend or recruit this person, she would definitely bring trouble for Twin Dragon Sect and herself. At that time, Twin Dragon Sect would have to face 3 top factions because of a single person. No matter how one looked at it, this was not a wise move. Su Wan sighed internally. No matter how willing she was emotionally, she was the daughter of the sect master of Twin Dragon Sect after all, and had to consider the interests of the many disciples. She could only obey her rationality and give up on Su Zimo. On the other side, in the high seats of the palace, Commander Lu's expression was dark. Turning his head slightly, he looked at Yin Fei beside him and said slowly, "You knew about this long ago. That's why you dared to make this gambit with me." At that moment, he had already realized. Yin Fei had an uneasy expression. "I did receive news that the Blood Sun Valley army was annihilated by a group of people. Their leader is very young with green robes and black hair. However, I don't know who he is." Pausing for a moment, he continued, "However, Su Zimo took out a storage bag previously in order to auction for that spirit treasure fragment. I only found out that there were 1,000 black-grade Dharmic treasures in that storage bag after asking around." With a mocking expression, Commander Lu added, "How can an ordinary cultivator, a grade 5 black immortal, have 1,000 black-grade Dharmic treasures? Therefore, based on the information you obtained, you were certain that the green-robed, black-haired cultivator is Su Zimo." Yin Fei shook his head and smiled. "There are many people with green robes and black hair. How can I be certain? I merely gambled based on those clues. If he's the same person who killed the Blood Sun Valley army, he's naturally capable and has a chance to last 50 moves against Ding Yu." Yin Fei let out a long breath. "However, even I did not expect that person to kill Ding Yu with a single palm strike." At that point, Commander Lu had nowhere to vent the pent-up anger in his heart. It was not as though Yin Fei had set him up. Firstly, he was the one who suggested the gambit. Secondly, Yin Fei could not be certain that Su Zimo was the one who killed the Blood Sun Valley army. That was a risk in itself. However, no matter what, he had suffered a huge loss today. The root of everything was the green-robed cultivator beneath. Commander Lu's gaze landed on Su Zimo once more with a chilling, killing intent that sent chills down one's spine. He was prepared to attack. Chapter 1845, Certain Death. Chapter 1845, Certain Death. In that short period of time, more than 10 guards of Black Mountain were either dead or injured in the arena. Even Ding Yu's personal guard, the Grade 7 Black Immortal, spat out blood from Yu Hao's gigantic axe and was forced to retreat repeatedly. Even though Su Zimo was only accompanied by Yu Hao, Xin Fei and Gu Wenjun, they had already defeated more than 10 guards of Black Mountain. In reality, Su Zimo was rather restrained in his attacks. Right from the beginning, he did not use any earth-shaking trump cards or secret skills, nor did he display the shocking scene in the 100,000 Mountains. Others might not be able to tell, but Duan Tianliang, who knew some of Su Zimo's background, knew that the latter was clearly holding back. Su Zimo had two considerations. First, there were some exalted immortals watching in Dragon Abyss City. He did not dare to reveal the bloodline of his Green Lotus true body, afraid that he would be recognized. Of course, even without using his bloodline, the powerful body of the Green Lotus true body was enough to suppress the guards of Black Mountain. His second consideration was Commander Lu, who was standing high above. From the moment the battle broke out, Commander Lu's gaze had been fixed on him. His spirit perception could clearly sense the killing intent in Commander Lu's heart. This was a Grade 8 Black Immortal that was 3 minor realms above him. Su Zimo did not dare to be careless. A Grade 8 Black Immortal had already surpassed him in terms of strength. Even if he used all his trump cards, he might not be a match for a Grade 8 Black Immortal. Furthermore, this Commander Lu was a native immortal of the upper world and had cultivated for countless years. He definitely knew many powerful immortal arts, and nobody knew what trump cards he had. Therefore, although Su Zimo was fighting against the guards of Black Mountain, most of his attention was focused on Commander Lu. He knew that once Commander Lu made a move, it would definitely be a thunderous attack. When the guard relayed the news of the Blood Sun Valley army almost completely wiped out, Su Zimo could clearly sense the killing intent emanating from Commander Lu intensifying. That person was about to attack. Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. Although his back was facing Commander Lu, at that moment, his hairs stood on end. Foo-foo. Right then, a chuckle sounded from the seats. Yin Fei looked at the murderous Commander Lu not far away and asked with a smile, "Brother Lu, what are you trying to do by being so angry?" "Murder." Commander Lu's tone was cold, and he did not conceal his intentions at all. As a commander of Dragon Abyss City, no one would dare to say anything even if he killed the leaders of the 8 major factions, let alone a Grade 5 Black Immortal. Yin Fei smiled and whispered, "Brother Lu, there's no need for that. We've known one another for many years, and it's just a small gambit. Why lower yourself to the level of a lowlife?" Narrowing his gaze, Commander Lu turned to Yin Fei and asked with raised brows, "Why? You want to protect him?" "No." Yin Fei shook his head and laughed. "He's just a lowlife. Why should I protect him? However, if you kill him because of the gambit between us, it won't be good for your reputation either. It will make you seem petty." Commander Lu's expression darkened as he harumphed coldly. Yin Fei continued, "Actually, even if you don't kill this person, he won't be able to live for long. Don't forget, he offended Blood Sun Valley and Mystic Mountain. There are even thousands from the evil wolf army waiting outside the city. How can a Grade 5 Black Immortal survive against all 3 major factions who want him dead?" Commander Lu's gaze flickered, and he suddenly said in a deep voice, "Men, here." For Dragon Abyss City guards stood out immediately. Commander Lu pointed at Su Zimo below and declared, "Chase that man out of Dragon Abyss City." Yin Fei frowned. "Brother Lu." Commander Lu waved his hand and interrupted Yin Fei. Expressionlessly, he said in an unfriendly tone, "Why? Are you bent on going against me today, Brother Yin?" Yin Fei replied hurriedly, "Brother Lu, why do you say that? It's just that, kicking that person out of the city for no reason? Isn't that? Why is it for no reason?" Commander Lu declared loudly, "This is the night marketplace, but this man fought against others lawlessly here. I'm already showing mercy by only kicking him out of the city." Yin Fei was silent. Everyone knew that there were thousands from the evil wolf army outside the city, waiting for Su Zimo to leave with bloodshot eyes. If Su Zimo was kicked out of the city, he would be torn into pieces instantly. Commander Lu had no intention of letting Su Zimo off. It was clear that he wanted to kill with a borrowed knife. At the end of the day, Su Zimo was only a grade 5 black immortal and was not related to Yin Fei at all. The reason why Yin Fei helped and stopped Commander Lu earlier on was because Su Zimo had helped him win the gambit after all. Furthermore, he admired this person from the depths of his heart. However, Commander Lu had already made up his mind. There was truly no need for him to be on bad terms with Commander Lu because of this person. At that thought, Yin Fei sighed and said nothing more. "Thank you for earlier on, Commander Yin." Suddenly, a voice sounded in Yin Fei's ears. Yin Fei was slightly stunned. That voice was a voice transmission from Su Zimo to thank him. The conversation he had with Commander Lu earlier on could not be heard by anyone in the noisy and chaotic palace. To think that this person's hearing was not bad and could even hear their conversation in the midst of the battle. Without batting an eyelid, Yin Fei sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness as well. "There's not much I can do. Guaranteeing that you'll be fine in the city is as far as I can help you." "It's enough?" Su Zimo sent a voice transmission. He knew very well that if Yin Fei had not stopped Commander Lu earlier on, the latter's attack would have triggered a chain reaction. Naturally, there was no way he would allow himself to be captured. The situation would only escalate. Behind Commander Lu was the elite army of Dragon Abyss City. Once the situation was out of control and the army gathered, even he might not be able to leave Dragon Abyss City alive, let alone Yu Hao, Duan Tianliang, and the others. Yin Fei thought for a moment and continued, "The situation you're facing is much more dangerous than you imagine. When you're outside the city, cultivators can kill one another at will. The evil wolf army isn't the only thing you'll be facing. Don't forget, you just took Ding Yu's storage bag with the treasure, the Sal Tree Leaf. Many of the major factions in the palace are targeting that storage bag in your hands." Su Zimo nodded. Yin Fei was not exaggerating. At that moment, Su Zimo could clearly sense that many cultivators in the surrounding crowd were extremely hostile towards him. However, because this was Dragon Abyss City, it was inconvenient for many cultivators to attack. If they were outside the city and everyone no longer had any reservations, who knew who would jump out at that time? That was also the reason why Commander Lu stopped and chose to chase Su Zimo out of Dragon Abyss City. Yin Fei sighed internally and sent a voice transmission. "You can only pray for the best outside the city." He did not say it explicitly. Actually, in his opinion, Su Zimo would definitely die the moment he left the city. Chapter 1846, A Good Show. Chapter 1846, A Good Show. Get lost from Dragon Abyss City. The 4 Dragon Abyss City guards arrived before Su Zimo with cold expressions and a disdainful tone, as though they were chasing away an ant whose life was worthless. Yu Hao clenched his fists in anger. Everyone could tell that Commander Lu was trying to kill with a borrowed knife. Disregard of the law was merely an excuse that Commander Lu made up. Even if they were not allowed to attack casually here, Su Zimo was only forced to retaliate because the Black Een Mountain faction provoked him first. Su Zimo raised his hand slightly and stopped Yu Hao from arguing. He glanced at the 4 Dragon Abyss City guards and smiled indifferently. "Today, you guys can chase me out of Dragon Abyss City, but I'll return in the future. At that time, nobody will be able to chase me away." "Dream on. You don't even know that you're about to die." The 4 city guards sneered. "Stay in the city. There's no need to follow me." Su Zimo ignored the 4 guards and turned to Yu Hao and the other 2. Thereafter, he turned and walked out of the palace with firm steps and a fearless expression. "Big brother, what should we do?" Or, Gu Wenjun looked at Su Zimo's back view with deep worry and a conflicted expression. She knew it as well. Su Zimo's departure was a one-way trip. Even if she followed, it would be useless and she would be torn into pieces by the countless evil wolf army. However, Su Zimo was her savior after all. Was she going to watch him die alone? At the side, Yu Hao suddenly took a deep breath and a resolute look flashed through his eyes. Brother Su, I'll accompany you. Thereafter, he turned to Xinfei and Gu Wenjun. Second brother, sister, I'll leave Sun vanquishing stronghold to you guys. With that said, Yu Hao strode towards Su Zimo. Yu Hao knew that he would die in battle outside the city as well. Even so, he wanted to fight alongside Su Zimo. Su Zimo stopped in his tracks and turned around, shaking his head. You don't have to do that. Brother Su? Yu Hao laughed. You're the one who gave me my life. If I hadn't met you, I would have died a long time ago. Now that my brother is in trouble, how can I cower in fear? He had a relaxed expression, but his tone was filled with pride. Even though he knew that he was doomed, he had to press forward. Big brother, Brother Su, wait for us. Right then, Xinfei and Gu Wenjun caught up as well. We're sworn siblings. How can we be missing from a battle as such? Xinfei smiled. The fear and hesitation in Gu Wenjun's eyes vanished as she smiled. That's right. Since we came here together, we'll leave together today. Many surrounding cultivators were moved when they heard that. Everyone knew that they would definitely be surrounded by countless cultivators the moment they left the city. However, the three of them did not retreat and stood firmly beside Su Zimo. Su Zimo smiled as well and patted Yu Hao on the shoulder. You guys are good. Right then, Su Wan sighed softly and cupped her fists towards Su Zimo with an apologetic expression. Fellow Taoist Su, Given the circumstances, no matter how much Su Wan valued Su Zimo, she would not dare to help Su Zimo against the pressure of Commander Liu and the three major factions. It's fine. I can understand. Su Zimo smiled gently. After pondering for a moment, Su Zimo said, Fellow Taoist Su, can I ask you for a favor? Speak. Su Wan replied hurriedly. Su Zimo pointed to Yu Hao and the other two, as well as Duan Tianliang, Big Yellow, and the Ying Zhao. Please take them in for the time being. Bring them along when you leave the city. Fellow Taoist Su, don't worry. I'll definitely ensure their safety. Su Wan agreed without hesitation. Brother Su, this is... Yu Hao frowned and wanted to argue. Su Zimo interrupted him with a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness and said straightforwardly, Yu Hao, the three of you will distract me if you follow me out of the city. Given my capabilities, it's easier to be alone without attachments. If I want to leave, I can do so at any moment. Even if there are thousands from the evil wolf army, they won't be able to stop me. If anyone else said something like that, they would definitely be mocked. However, when Su Zimo said it, Yu Hao and the other two felt that it was only right. They had witnessed Su Zimo's methods before and were indeed terrifying. It was as though the apocalyptic scene in the 100,000 Mountains had happened yesterday. Even now, it was still incomparably shocking. However, Yu Hao and the other two knew that today's battle was 10 times more dangerous than before. This time round, the evil wolf army came prepared and was definitely even more terrifying than the Blood Sun Valley army. Furthermore, at that time, Su Zimo might not only have to face the evil wolf army, but experts of other factions as well. Yu Hao was still hesitant. Su Zimo's voice sounded once more. If you leave the city, follow Su Wan and leave after ensuring your safety. Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow know my location. At that time, they will naturally look for me. Duan Tianliang nodded hurriedly. Right from the beginning, he had not stood out to fight alongside Su Zimo. That was because he knew that he would definitely become Su Zimo's burden if he left the city with the latter. That's settled then, Su Zimo added with an unquestionable conviction. Yu Hao and the other two exchanged glances and could only nod. Hurry, don't dawdle. Right then, a city guard sneered and hollered when he saw Su Zimo standing in the crowd motionlessly. Lad, it's too late to be afraid now. Hurry and leave. Don't force us to chase you out of the city. The other guard sneered as well. Su Zimo's expression was indifferent as he nodded to Su Wan before turning to leave. In the crowd, Protector Shui of Blood Sun Valley watched the entire process and nodded to himself. The development of the situation was similar to what he had expected. Even if he did not attack, Zimo would definitely be torn into pieces by the evil wolf army. Before long, under the watch of 4 city guards, Zimo walked out of the underground palace and disappeared from everyone's line of sight. Above the palace, with a smug expression, Commander Lu smiled gently and suddenly declared, "Everyone, we're destined to have no sleep tonight. Why don't we head up the city wall and watch a good show?" "Let's do that. Let's go." Many Dragon Abyss city guards burst into laughter. The many cultivators and young masters of the major factions below moved one after another as well. Even without Commander Lu's words, they would have watched from the city walls. Zimo had a sal tree leaf in his possession. That was a treasure that all the major factions coveted. The frustration in Commander Lu's heart lessened slightly. The reason why he lost the gambit today was entirely because of Zimo. If he could see Zimo being torn into pieces by the evil wolf army, he would naturally feel extremely comfortable. This feeling would be even more satisfying than if he had attacked personally. Commander Lu looked at Yin Fei beside him and said with a smile, "Let's go, Brother Yin. Let's head over and take a look together." "You're right. Why do I have to deal with an ant like him personally? Fufu, even if I stomp it to death, I'm afraid of dirtying my shoes." Chapter 1847, Two Bosses. Chapter 1847, Two Bosses. Dragon Abyss City. Although it was already late at night, both sides of the road were still brightly lit. Many cultivators gathered and discussed, converging together like a torrent that surged over from one end of the road. The chaotic footsteps woke up many cultivators who were resting in Dragon Abyss City. Some cultivators walked out of their houses and looked over. Immediately after, everyone witnessed a strange scene. At the front of the crowd was a black-haired, green-robed man. He had refined features and deep eyes as he walked out of the city with a calm expression. The green-robed man looked meek and exuded a scholarly aura as he walked at an unhurried pace. The many cultivators behind him followed unhurriedly as well. Strange, why is it so lively in the middle of the night? I think it's the group from the night marketplace. In the past, this group of people would disperse and return home after the auction. What are they doing now? Who is that green-robed cultivator? I think his name is Zimo. He's being hunted by the evil wolf army. Fellow Taoist, what's going on? Someone could not help but ask curiously when he saw someone he knew in the crowd. Before long, that person found out about what happened in the night marketplace and could not help but feel invigorated. He joined the crowd and prepared to head up the city wall to watch the show. The crowd grew and the commotion grew. Before long, more than half the cultivators of Dragon Abyss City were alarmed. Fufu, a guard of Dragon Abyss City, looked at Zimo's back view and suddenly sneered. "Look at that person. He's still pretending to be calm. He's probably scared out of his wits. Actually, there's no need for such a huge commotion." Another guard pouted his lips slightly. "He's only a grade 5 black immortal. I reckon that he'll be crushed by the evil wolf army within a few breaths outside the city. I hope that he can last a little longer against the attacks of the evil wolf army so that we'll have more to watch later." Another person laughed. "Who led the evil wolf army this time round? I heard it's the 3rd and 4th bosses. TSK. To think that they would send 2 leaders to deal with a grade 5 black immortal. The evil wolf army is trying to kill to establish their dominance. These 2 bosses are ruthless characters." As they discussed, Zimo had already arrived at the city gate. Above the city wall, Commander Lu, Yin Fei, and other prestigious experts in Dragon Abyss City had already arrived a step earlier. Commander Lu stood above and looked down at Zimo. Zimo looked up. Their gazes met in a fierce manner. Zimo did not dodge at all. The corners of Commander Lu's lips curled as a cruel look appeared in his eyes. He raised his hand slowly and said in a deep voice, "Open the city gate." Creak. Accompanied by an ear-piercing sound, the city gate opened slowly. The gigantic city gate was like the mouth of an ancient, ferocious beast, waiting for Zimo to step in. The moment the city gate opened, many cultivators smelled blood. Outside the city, It was pitch black and extremely quiet. The quieter it was, the more unusual it was. Even the cultivators behind Suzimo felt a sense of pressure, as though a dark cloud was looming over the city and an army was approaching. Looking at the darkness outside the city gate, Suzimo suddenly smiled and walked towards the city gate. There were even some Dragon Abyss city guards guarding both sides of the city gate. The few guards had already found out about this matter as well. They crossed their arms and looked at Suzimo, who was walking over step by step. Some of them pursed their lips, some of them shook their heads, and some of them sneered. Of all people, you chose to offend Commander Liu. You must be tired of living. Isn't that good? We were just feeling bored standing guard here, and now a good show has arrived. We can watch the show as well. A few guards burst into laughter. Do you want to watch a show? Amidst the laughter of the guards, Suzimo crossed the city gate. He passed by the guards and said indifferently, as though he was talking to himself, "All right, I'll let you guys watch a good show today." By the time he said that, Suzimo had already left Dragon Abyss City. Was he talking to us? I'm not sure. He must be scared out of his wits. The few guards were confused and did not think too much about it. They chuckled and pushed the city gate closed slowly, locking Suzimo outside the city. The many cultivators that followed him rushed up the city walls hurriedly as well. Thankfully, Dragon Abyss City was tall and majestic. The city walls extended like a mountain range, and it did not feel crowded even when many cultivators stood on the city walls. Everyone looked down. Suzimo left Dragon Abyss City and stopped in his tracks before long. Howl. Suddenly, a tragic wolf howl tore through the silence of the night. Immediately after, more wolves howled and the ground shook. Although it was night, from above the city walls that were 100 feet tall, the cultivators could still see the billowing dust in the distance. Many cultivators gasped in shock. From the looks of it, the evil wolf army should have more than a few thousand people. Before long, green lights appeared densely in the darkness ahead. Those were the eyes of the black-scale fiend wolves. After the pairs of ghastly green wolf eyes, many gigantic black-scale fiend wolves appeared one after another with a murderous aura, forming a gigantic semicircle that sealed all of Suzimo's escape routes. There's so many people. There must be at least 10,000 of them. A series of exclamations sounded from the city wall. Yu Hao and the others gripped their fists tightly with sweaty palms and nervous expressions. The current situation was even more dangerous than they had expected. The combat strength of an army of 10,000 was not limited to 10,000 people. That was because there were also 10,000 violent black-scale fiend wolves beneath the 10,000-odd evil wolf army. Those black-scale fiend wolves could also release extremely terrifying lethality. Once the evil wolf army swarmed, even grade 6 and 7 black immortals would be trampled into sludge, let alone grade 5 black immortals. Suwon frowned and whispered, "There's no more chance. This time round, the third and fourth bosses of the evil wolf army are here. Of the two of them, one specializes in body tempering and has immense strength that can fight against ferocious beasts. The other has a sinister saber technique that's impossible to defend against." The moment Suwon said that, the evil wolf army dispersed and two figures walked out. The person on the left was tall and strong. He was clad in armor, and his exposed arms were thicker than an ordinary person's thighs. He wielded two gigantic golden hammers with immense strength. That person's eyes were widened, and he had a ferocious expression. It was the third boss of the evil wolf army. The person on the right was dressed in black and had a long saber slung across his waist. His expression was cold and his gaze was icy as a blade. He was the fourth boss of the evil wolf army. When he saw that, Commander Liu, who was on the city wall, glanced sideways and said leisurely, "Brother Yin, why don't we make another bet to see how long this person can live?" Ha 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 ha. Before he could finish, Commander Liu burst into laughter. Yin Fei was silent and merely shook his head and sighed. To think that a gambit between the two of them would cause this person to lose his life. Chapter 1848, Massive Battle. Chapter 1848, Massive Battle. Beneath Dragon Abyss City. Suzimo's expression was unchanged as he looked at the black mass of the evil wolf army before him. He merely smiled. You guys sure think highly of me to send an army of 10,000. You're Suzimo? The third boss of the evil wolf army asked loudly with a fierce gaze. Suzimo raised his brow slightly and asked, "And who are you?" Ha 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 ha. The third boss burst into laughter. A grade 5 black immortal like you isn't worthy of knowing my name. Go to hell and ask the king of hell after you die. Oh. Suzimo replied indifferently, so, you're just a nobody? You. The third boss's eyes widened in rage as he controlled the black scale fiend wolf beneath him to charge forward and smash Suzimo's head. Third. Right then, the fourth boss frowned and whispered, "There are many important figures in Dragon Abyss City watching. It's just a grade 5 black immortal. Leave it to the other brothers. Why do you have to do it personally? You'll be a joke." That's right. From the army, a wolf rider appeared. He was bald and red-faced, looking mighty and strong. Third boss, there's no need to use a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Wait for me to retrieve his head and offer it to the two of you. Although the bald cultivator was at the level 5 black essence realm, his combat strength was extremely strong. In a battle, he did not care about his life at all and was like a lunatic. In the evil wolf army, even some grade 6 black immortals were unwilling to have a conflict with them. The third boss let out a long breath and nodded. All right, Baldy. I'll give you 10 breaths time. I want him dead. Understood. The bald man replied loudly and rode on his black scale fiend wolf. Slapping his storage bag, he withdrew a gigantic wolf tooth copper rod and charged towards Suzimo. The cultivator who sent the message merely said that Suzimo had appeared and led cultivators to severely injure Blood Sun Valley's army in the 100,000 Mountains. The people of the evil wolf army did not know the exact situation in the 100,000 Mountains either. More than that, they did not know that Blood Sun Valley's army suffered immense losses in that battle almost entirely because of a single person. If the two bosses of the evil wolf army knew about this and knew about what happened in the night marketplace, they would definitely not send just a single grade 5 black immortal. The bald man was extremely confident. He had killed countless grade 5 black immortals. In the battle that made him famous back then, he even risked his life to kill a grade 6 black immortal. From then on, the bald man became famous in the evil wolf army. The Suzimo before him looked extremely weak. This must be someone who was skilled in immortal or divine powers with a poor physique. As long as he could get close, 3 rounds would be enough to deal with this guy. Howl. Sensing the bald man's intentions, the black scale fiend wolf beneath him roared once more and its blood chi surged. Exerting strength in its limbs, its speed increased once more. In the blink of an eye, the bald man arrived before Suzimo on his black scale fiend wolf. Throughout the entire process, Suzimo did not react at all. He merely stood on the spot motionlessly and looked at the menacing bald man who was charging over. In fact, there were no ripples in his eyes. Fuck, that person is scared out of his wits. The third boss hollered jokingly. The bald man did not even have to attack. The accelerated charge of the black scale fiend wolf would be enough to snap his tendons and bones and kill him on the spot. On the city wall. Even Yu Hao, Duan Tianliang, and the others who had witnessed Suzimo's methods could vaguely tell that this person was not a threat to him. However, they were still worried for Suzimo. Everyone on the city wall could clearly see that the tall and ferocious black scale fiend wolf was extremely close to Suzimo, and the latter's black hair was already fluttering. However, Suzimo remained unmoved. Just as the black scale fiend wolf's mouth was about to touch Suzimo's cheek, he suddenly strode forward and leaped up, pushing his knee forward. At that moment, Suzimo's body was extremely stretched. Many cultivators seemed to be hallucinating as the green-robed cultivator vanished and was replaced by a galloping divine steed. Bang! The black scale fiend wolf collided heavily against Suzimo. The two of them seemed to have stopped in midair. Compared to the massive body of the black scale fiend wolf, Suzimo looked extremely tiny. However, the next moment, under countless gazes, the massive body of the black scale fiend wolf exploded into countless pieces of flesh. A blood mist spread with a torrential blood stench. Pissed. Gasps could be heard from the evil wolf army when they saw that. The black scale fiend wolf was a demon beast and was innately strong. Coupled with its scales, it was invulnerable to weapons. To think that it would be smashed into pieces by a seemingly weak cultivator and die on the spot. As for the bald man on the black scale fiend wolf's back, he was shocked and had not expected this. He could not help but fall from midair. Suddenly, his figure paused and stopped. Instinctively, the bald man looked down. A fair palm appeared on his ankle and locked it tightly like an iron hoop. Ah! Suddenly, the bald man shrieked. The tragic cries were accompanied by the jarring sound of bones cracking. His ankle was crushed by that person's palm. The bald man nearly fainted from the pain. Before he could react, he felt his body spinning uncontrollably. Boom! Grabbing the bald man's ankle, Zimo swung a gigantic semicircle in midair and smashed heavily onto the ground, creating a human-shaped pit. The bald man's tendons and bones were snapped and his organs were ruptured. There was no way he could survive. Many cultivators on the city wall winced at the sight. At that moment, the methods displayed by Zimo were much more terrifying than what he displayed in the night marketplace. Ferocious, violent, clean, and precise. Throughout the entire process, from Zimo's attack to the bald man's death, he did not make any unnecessary movements and everything was done in one go like water. Although the exchange sounded slow, life and death was decided the moment they collided. The smile on the third boss's face had yet to dissipate and his expression froze. The fourth boss narrowed his eyes and a cold glint flashed through them. Zimo looked at the evil wolf army not far away and said indifferently, "There's no need to send nobodies like these to die for nothing. How arrogant. Cocky fool, prepare to die." This time round, before the two bosses gave the order, more than 10 wolf riders in the crowd could not hold it in and charged towards Zimo. Humph! Zimo harumphed coldly and stomped on the ground. With a boom, the entire ground trembled. The bald man's wolf-tooth copper rod bounced into Zimo's hands. Immediately after, he transformed into a green streak of light and charged into the crowd. Wielding the wolf-tooth copper rod, he swung it left and right. Bang! 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 Blood splattered everywhere on the battlefield. One after another, figures were sent flying by the wolf-tooth copper rod. By the time they landed on the ground, there were already many holes in their bodies and blood gushed out in an extremely tragic manner. In the blink of an eye, the 10-odd evil wolf army soldiers were in chaos. Chapter 1849. Earth-Grade Cultivation Technique. Chapter 1849. Earth-Grade Cultivation Technique. The destructive power of the wolf-tooth copper rod was immense, and it was even more terrifying in Zimo's hands. Even with the powerful physique of the black scale fiend wolf, there would be a few shocking bloody holes if it was struck by the wolf-tooth copper rod. Although the wolf riders were fast, they were defeated even faster. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 corpses appeared on the ground. The black scale fiend wolves were not spared either. Their bodies were either pierced by the wolf-tooth copper rod or their tendons and bones were snapped and they were dead. This Zimo is truly not afraid of death. He even dares to kill in front of the evil wolf army of 10,000. What else can he do if he doesn't attack? With such a huge lineup, there's no way the evil wolf army will let him off. Many cultivators on the city wall discussed. Commander Lu harumphed and said coldly, "He's merely struggling on the brink of death." When they heard Commander Lu's unfriendly tone, the discussions around them quietened down. Beneath Dragon Abyss City, the expressions of the two bosses turned extremely terrible. The loss of more than 10 cultivators was not a huge loss for the evil wolf army. Most importantly, there were people of the major factions, commanders of the city, and powerful experts of the Dragon Abyss Star watching on the city walls right now. The two bosses felt extremely embarrassed. Third, stop wasting time with him. The fourth boss frowned. If our army charges forward, the black scale fiend wolves that we're riding on can crush him into sludge with a single stomp. All right, we'll do as you say. The third boss pointed at Suzimo from afar and hollered, "Kill! Kill!" Many of the evil wolf army soldiers could not hold it in any longer. When they heard the orders of the third boss, they roared and charged out excitedly. Dust billowed as the fiend wolves sprinted. The evil wolf army had dominated the Dragon Abyss Star for many years and was one of the four great bandits. It was not without reason. The 10,000-strong army moved at the same time like a massive torrent with a terrifying might. They surged forward with an extremely frightening aura. Even the cultivators on the city walls were slightly shocked and wary, let alone those beneath the city. Who could survive such a torrent? All right. Against the incoming torrent, Suzimo laughed fearlessly and shouted, "Today, I'll let you guys witness my capabilities as well." Suzimo's gaze intensified as he rose into the air slowly, emitting a shuddering aura from his glabella. Suddenly, Suzimo opened his mouth and roared at the 10,000-strong evil wolf army that was charging over. Roar! The roar was like a dragon's roar and a phoenix's cry. It was extremely terrifying and released an endless might, as though it could command all demons and look down on all living beings. The cultivators watching on the city wall shuddered. At that moment, they even had an illusion. What floated in midair was not a person, but an ancient and terrifying ferocious beast. Its body was massive and its wings flapped, burning with flames. Dragon Phoenix roar. Although this green lotus true body did not have the bloodline of the dragon phoenix and could not suppress other ferocious beasts through its bloodline, it had the dragon phoenix essence spirit and could release the aura and roar of a taboo dragon phoenix. The many human cultivators in the evil wolf army were not affected much. After all, with more than 10,000 people gathered in wolves howling, their formation was overwhelming and could reduce the lethality of the dragon phoenix roar to a minimum. Some of the grade 5 black immortals merely shuddered and frowned slightly, feeling their ears sting. However, the black scale fiend wolves they were riding on seemed to have received an immense shock. Suddenly, their limbs went limp and they collapsed to the ground in fear. Some cultivators who were riding on the wolves were caught off guard and were sent flying, landing on the ground. Instantly, the 10,000-strong evil wolf army was in chaos. "Beast, get up. What are you afraid of? I'm right here." Many evil wolf army soldiers cursed and urged the black scale fiend wolves beneath them. Suzimo sneered and channeled his mental cultivation technique and essence spirit without giving the evil wolf army a chance. Whoosh! Suddenly, 3 balls of flames of different colors rose beside him. Every single ball of flames emitted an extremely terrifying temperature and aura. The black Tao fire was fiendish. The golden Tao fire was divine and peaceful. The scarlet Tao fire was scorching. Many Dharmic arts of the lower world were difficult to release in the upper world. That was because once those Dharmic arts were fused with heaven and earth essence chi, if the level of the Dharmic art was not high enough and could not withstand the heaven and earth essence chi, it would dissipate immediately. However, the 3 Tao fires that Suzimo cultivated were different. For the past 10 years, Suzimo had tried to fuse heaven and earth essence chi into the 3 Tao fires. Not only did the Tao fires not extinguish, they fused perfectly with the essence chi and burned brighter with an increasingly terrifying power. In reality, the Samadhi Tao fire that Suzimo cultivated had long transcended its original form as a Dharmic art. Along the way of his cultivation, Suzimo had dabbled in the Tao of the immortal, Buddhist, and fiend sects and was extremely accomplished. The 3 Tao fires had already fused with his cultivation and foundation. The deeper one's cultivation in the immortal Tao, the stronger the power of the immortal Tao fire. It was the same for the Buddhist and fiend Tao fires. The 3 Tao fires would increase in strength along with his cultivation. For example, among the 3 Tao fires, the power of the Buddhist Tao fire was clearly stronger than the 2 Tao fires of the immortal and fiend sections. That was because the golden Buddhist Tao fire contained the profoundness of the Prajna Nirvana Sutra. Although there was still a distance between Zemo and the evil wolf army, many of them could already feel the terrifying heat. Within a few breaths, the faces of many of the evil wolf army soldiers were flushed red and they were drenched in sweat. Some of the evil wolf army soldiers could not take it and even took off their heavy armor. On the city wall, a look of surprise flashed through Yin Fei's eyes as she nodded slightly and praised, "The grade of this immortal art for flames is probably not low." Commander Liu was expressionless and remained silent. Zhang Li of Heavenly Fire Palace had a grim expression. The reason why Heavenly Fire Palace was able to establish themselves on the Dragon Abyss Star was because they specialized in the Tao of Flames. Her father possessed a cultivation technique called the Heavenly Fire Tao technique. It was in high-quality light grade and was extremely powerful. Zhang Li had a deep understanding of this Tao after obtaining her father's inheritance. However, the moment Zemo's 3 balls of flames appeared, Zhang Li realized that each of them was superior to the Heavenly Fire Tao technique she cultivated. The cultivation technique that this person is cultivating is at least a low-quality black grade. There's a high chance it's a high-quality black grade, Zhang Li murmured softly. The moment she said that, Zemo waved his hands beneath Dragon Abyss City, and the 3 balls of flames of different colors collided, forming an even hotter fireball. The temperature in the world rose suddenly. It was as though a blazing sun had descended beneath Dragon Abyss City with flames surging into the skies. Under the illumination of the flames, Zhang Li's face was a little pale. With a shocked expression, she said with a trembling voice, "To this cultivation technique, could it be Earth grade?" Chapter 1850, Complete Annihilation. Chapter 1850, Complete Annihilation. On Dragon Abyss Star, be it Heavenly Fire Palace or other powerful factions, none of them had the chance to come into contact with high-quality cultivation techniques and secret skills. The strongest cultivation techniques that the major factions could cultivate were only high-quality light grades. Black-grade cultivation techniques were only available to some of the commanders and immortals of Dragon Abyss City. Earth-grade cultivation techniques were something that even the City Lord of Dragon Abyss City might not be able to come into contact with, let alone the cultivators of the major factions. That was the reason why Zhang Li was so shocked when she saw the gigantic fireball. Even the commanders on the city walls and the guards of Dragon Abyss City were shocked, let alone her. Greed flashed through the eyes of many Dragon Abyss City guards, and they were tempted. If this cultivation technique of the Tao of Fire was truly Earth grade, it would be an irresistible attraction for them. At that moment, everyone on the city wall had yet to realize that the fireball that Zemo condensed was not the final form of the immortal art. Beneath Dragon Abyss City, the black scale fiend wolves trembled in fear from the dragon phoenix roar and did not dare to get up. Thousands of cultivators from the evil wolf army leaped down one after another and roared, charging towards Zemo murderously. However, when Zemo's Samadhi Tao fire fused into the fireball, the many evil wolf army soldiers stopped in their tracks. It was not out of fear, but because they truly could not take another step forward. The gigantic fireball at the front was like a blazing sun. It was red and burned with flames, emitting a terrifying heat. The sweat on the bodies of many evil wolf army soldiers evaporated the moment they seeped out. They could already feel a sharp pain on their faces and their lips were dry, as though their bloodlines were about to be incinerated. The small group of evil wolf army soldiers that were charging at the front was in an even worse state and could not stop in time. At that moment, the armor of the evil wolf army soldiers melted and turned into scorching molten metal that flowed down their bodies slowly. The evil wolf army soldiers let out tragic cries and smoke billowed from their bodies. Flames burst forth from the bodies of the evil wolf army soldiers in the scorching molten metal, and they were burned to ashes in a few breaths. Just as the many evil wolf army soldiers were hesitating, the fourth boss suddenly shouted coldly, "There's so many of us. With just a single immortal art, divine power, or Dharmic treasure from each of us, we'll be able to shatter that fireball." The many evil wolf army soldiers reacted one after another and conjured their immortal arts. summoning their Dharmic treasures, ready to strike. Kill, the fourth boss ordered. Boom, boom, boom. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Immortal arts surged and divine powers descended. Dharmic treasures tore through the void and shot towards the gigantic fireball in front of them. Everyone's only goal was to shatter the fireball. Zemo smirked coldly and hollered softly, "Good timing." Before his sentence was finished, Zemo pushed with both hands and rolled the gigantic fireball towards the evil wolf army. At the same time, his glabella shone and a scarlet flame burst forth, entering the gigantic fireball. Essence Spirit Dao Fire. The Kacharati Dao Fire was formed. To be precise, apart from the flames of the Green Lotus Essence Spirit, there was also the power of the Dragon Phoenix Essence Spirit's flames. The overall power had increased exponentially. The moment the fireball collided with the many divine powers, immortal arts, and Dharmic treasures, it expanded more than 10 times, and the temperature rose rapidly as flames surged into the skies. Instantly, it was as though there were no other living beings in the world, only a blazing sun. The Kacharati Dao Fire was formed and illuminated the entire night sky like daylight. The fireball expanded dozens of times and devoured the hundreds of evil wolf army soldiers closest to it. Before the evil wolf army soldiers could react, they were burned into nothingness by the fireball and their essence spirits were destroyed. Pissed. On the city wall, many cultivators were shocked and dumbfounded. Nobody expected that the fireball formed by the 3 balls of flames earlier on was not the peak of the immortal art's power. The current fireball was many times stronger than the one earlier on. Zhongli was completely speechless and had a lost expression. She could only stare at the scene beneath the city in disbelief. Could that immortal art be a high-quality earth grade or... Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Zhongli shook her head and did not dare to continue thinking. Yin Fei had a grim expression as he whispered, "Given the power displayed by that cultivation technique, it's probably at least a high-quality earth-grade cultivation technique. Furthermore, there's a high chance it's a heaven-grade cultivation technique." At that point, the crowd was in an uproar. Heaven-grade cultivation techniques were almost legendary treasures, and only the royalty of the Great Jin country would possess such powerful cultivation techniques. Impossible. Commander Lu said resolutely, "What sort of a treasure is a heaven-grade cultivation technique? It's not something that a grade 5 black immortal can come into contact with." Notwithstanding the fact that he can't come into contact with it, even if he's given it to cultivate, he won't be able to comprehend it. His body won't be able to withstand it either. Even so, Commander Lu's gaze turned fervent. No matter what, even if that immortal art was not heaven grade, it was definitely earth grade. If he could cultivate that immortal art to greater mastery, wouldn't he be able to possess combat strength that could kill above his level as well? Retreat. Hurry and retreat. The third boss had already realized that something was amiss and shouted at the top of his lungs. However, it was already too late. The thousands of evil wolf army soldiers attacked and many immortal arts, divine powers, and Dharmic treasures tore through the air, covering the skies. No matter how strong Zemo's Kacharati Dao Fire was, it could not withstand that power. The gigantic fireball was shattered by the combined forces of the 10,000-strong evil wolf army. At that moment, the calamity had just begun. The fireball split into pieces and turned into countless flames that scattered everywhere into the crowd like flowers. Even the grade 6 black immortals of the evil wolf army that were struck by the flames could not withstand it and were burned to ashes on the spot, dying without corpses. Countless flames formed a gigantic sea of flames that engulfed the many evil wolf army soldiers. Countless evil wolf army soldiers struggled, shrieked, ran, and cried for help in the sea of flames. It was like a fiery hell. Countless living beings struggled within that purgatory, but none of them could ever escape. On the city wall, many cultivators looked pale with a hint of fear in their eyes. The fact that a grade 5 black immortal could release such methods was truly terrifying. The eyes of the third and fourth bosses widened, and their faces turned pale. They did not advance and were not injured by the Kacharati Dao fire. However, even at the edge of the scorching sea of flames, the two of them still felt chills. It was over. Everything was over. The 10,000-strong evil wolf army was almost completely annihilated by that terrifying flame. Through the sea of flames, the two of them looked at the green figure in midair opposite them, as though he was a fiend that had crawled out of hell. Chapter 1851, Divine Might. Chapter 1851, Divine Might. On the city wall, all the cultivators who saw that were shocked. The evil wolf army had dominated the Dragon Abyss Star for many years. As one of the four great bandits, they had even destroyed 3 major factions. They were ferocious and cruel, killing people like flies. They had never suffered such a huge loss. The reason why the 2 bosses of the evil wolf army mobilized such a large force and led an army of 10,000 to deal with a grade 5 black immortal personally was because they wanted to establish their dominance without any mishaps. However, nobody expected this situation to happen the moment the battle broke out. No matter. That was also her worry. If she and the blue-dressed woman could think of it, the other factions could as well, and so could the 2 bosses of the evil wolf army. Under normal circumstances, releasing the Kacharati Dao fire with all his might would indeed take a huge toll on Su Zimo's essence spirit. However, no one knew that Su Zimo's essence spirit was not at the level 5 black essence realm, but level 7. He cultivated the Prajna Nirvana Sutra and fused the Dragon Phoenix and Green Lotus essence spirits. Coupled with the power of illumination and nether glow, his essence spirit was even more condensed and terrifying than ordinary grade 7 black immortals. The release of the Kacharati Dao fire did not affect him much. The sea of flames gradually faded. Some of the grade 6 black immortals in the evil wolf army were charred black and disfigured. Relying on their trump cards and life-saving methods, they managed to survive. The 2 bosses had grim expressions and made a rough count. There were only a few hundred people left from the evil wolf army that survived. Most of the evil wolf army died in the sea of flames. That fire burned the army of 10,000 to less than 1,000 people. More than half of the 10,000 black-scale fiend wolves were dead or injured as well. The remaining wolves had long dispersed and fled without a trace. The remaining hundreds of evil wolf army soldiers were almost all severely injured as well. The fire penetrated their bodies and all of them sat on the ground, coughing black dust with frightened expressions. They had already lost their combat strength. It was way too tragic. Even if a huge battle broke out with the major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star, the evil wolf army would not end up in such a state. But now, everything was all because of a single person's attacks. Su Zimo. The third boss's eyes were widened in rage as he roared with bloodshot eyes. "I'm going to kill you and use your blood to pay respects to my dead evil wolf brothers." The third boss wielded his golden maces with both hands and grit his teeth, charging towards Su Zimo with a menacing expression. He was worried that if Su Zimo roared again, the black-scale fiend wolf he was riding on would be scared off and become his burden. Therefore, he decided not to use it. The fourth boss's expression was cold as ice. Without saying anything, he floated down from the black-scale fiend wolf's back as well and strode forward. Gripping the handle of the saber at his waist with his right hand, he bent down slightly and sped towards Su Zimo. "Humph!" Su Zimo sneered and stood in midair, looking down at the third boss who was charging over. "You still want to kill me? Today, I'll let the 2 of you die beneath Dragon Abyss City." Swoosh! In a flash, Su Zimo burst forth and swooped down. "Die!" The third boss was fearless as he raised the golden mace in his palm and channeled his blood chi, smashing it towards Su Zimo who was charging down. Su Zimo was still in midair when his glabella shone and a bronze square tripod flew out. He reached out and grabbed the bronze square tripod, swinging it in a semicircular manner towards the fourth boss's golden maces. Clang! The golden mace collided against the bronze square tripod with an ear-piercing sound. A visible shockwave burst forth between the 2 Dharmic treasures and spread in all directions. Suzimo did not use his blood chi this time round for fear of his Green Lotus bloodline being recognized. Even so, with the burst power of his dive, the strength of the Green Lotus body as well as the bronze square tripod, he still had the upper hand in this clash. Suzimo descended from the skies like a god with an unparalleled might. The third boss shuddered and took half a step back. A tremendous force arrived and his entire foot sank into the ground. The third boss's eyes were filled with shock. He could not imagine that this seemingly skinny body could release such a terrifying, ferocious, and savage power. Again. Without giving the third boss a chance to catch his breath, Suzimo raised the bronze square tripod and smashed down once more. The third boss could only swing his other golden mace to receive it. Clang! Another loud bang sounded. The third boss grunted dully and his teeth loosened, causing fresh blood to flow. His arms trembled slightly and ached. Instinctively, his gaze landed on his golden mace and his pupils constricted. The lines on his golden maces were flattened after the two collisions with that battered bronze square tripod. The third boss did not know that if it was any other weapon, such as sabers, spears, swords, and halberds, they would have been snapped by the bronze square tripod. Chapter 1852. I'll Take Your Life. Chapter 1852. I'll Take Your Life. The third boss of the evil wolf army specializes in body tempering and has immense strength. To think that although Suzimo looks extremely weak, he's not disadvantaged against the third boss of the evil wolf army. A commander of Dragon Abyss City exclaimed. Another person said in a deep voice, I'm guessing that this lad has also cultivated some powerful body tempering technique. Otherwise, there's no way he could have crossed 2 levels to fight against a grade 7 black immortal. Although that person did not say it explicitly, many people could guess that the grade of this body tempering cultivation technique was definitely not low. Even if he has some brute force, it's useless. The fourth boss of the evil wolf army's saber technique is sinister and crafty. It's very difficult for him to defend against the two of them together. The moment he said that, a change happened on the battlefield beneath Dragon Abyss City. After the 2 consecutive collisions between Suzimo and the third boss, the fourth boss had already arrived beside Suzimo. Clang! The saber left his body and slashed towards Suzimo's neck with a cold glint. Nobody could see the appearance of the saber clearly. However, the saber flashed at an extremely fast speed and arrived almost instantly. Kill! At the same time, the third boss raised his golden mace once more and smashed it towards Suzimo. The 2 bosses attacked at almost the same time with tacit understanding. They attacked from the front and back and released shuddering killing attacks. Suzimo had a fearless expression and there was no hint of panic in his eyes. He raised the bronze square tripod with his left hand and struck the incoming golden mace. At the same time, he extended his right hand and grabbed the incoming cold light with his unpredictable spirit perception. Your hand is mine. The fourth boss sneered coldly with a smug and delighted look in his long eyes. On the city wall, Yin Fei shook his head gently and sighed when he saw that. No matter how strong one's body was, they could not take on the other party's weapons and Dharmic treasures with their bodies. That was a taboo between cultivators. Commander Lu said directly, that hand is gone. Boom! On the battlefield, the bronze square tripod collided against the golden mace once more. The third boss shuddered and his bones crackled, as though his body was about to fall apart. On the other side, Suzimo's palm had already made contact with the descending cold light. Under normal circumstances, the palms of body-tempered cultivators were filled with calluses and their skin was rough. However, that palm was fair and tender with long fingers. It was extremely beautiful and was even better than the skin of a newborn baby. With such a tender palm, even a scratch would be able to open up a hole, let alone a weapon or Dharmic treasure. However, the moment that palm landed on the sharp blade, it suddenly turned soft with a coil and tremble, releasing an extremely terrifying power. Crack! The sound of metal clashing echoed. On the city wall, countless cultivators were shocked when they saw that. The saber in the hands of the fourth boss was shattered by Suzumo's palm, and the blade turned into many shards that scattered down. However, Suzumo's palm was intact without any injuries. Impossible. Could that person be wearing some Dharmic treasure on his palm? A series of exclamations sounded from the city wall. Before everyone's shock could dissipate, a change happened on the battlefield. Die. Although the saber shattered, the fourth boss did not retreat. Instead, he growled and strode forward, piercing forward. There's a blade in the saber. Yin Fei's eyes flickered as he exclaimed softly. Everyone focused their gazes and saw that the fourth boss was still wielding a sharp blade. It was pitch black and looked like a broken blade. So, there was another broken blade hidden in the fourth boss's saber. If Suzumo had not shattered the saber, no one would have noticed the existence of the broken blade. This change had exceeded Suzumo's expectations as well. When he saw the pitch-black broken blade approaching, Suzumo reached out instinctively to grab it. The moment his palm collided with the pitch-black broken blade, Suzumo's expression changed. Something's not right. Suzumo was alarmed. The sharpness of that broken blade can injure the Green Lotus true body. Although he was at the level 5 Black Essence realm, the Green Lotus true body was indestructible and almost no black-grade Dharmic treasure could injure him. As for the fourth boss, he was only holding a broken blade. It was clearly a useless Dharmic treasure, but it pierced his palm. At the same time, a familiar vibration came from the bronze square tripod. That broken blade is a sentient Dharmic treasure. That thought flashed through Suzumo's mind. However, by the time he realized that, the black blade had already pierced his palm. At that moment, even if he released heavenly feet and other divine powers, it was already too late and he could not avoid the sharpness of the black blade. A smug smile appeared on the fourth boss's face. Back then, he obtained this broken blade by accident and regarded it as a treasure. Although the pitch-black broken blade was an abandoned Dharmic treasure that was snapped, the remaining half was still extremely sharp. It could even sever high-quality black-grade Dharmic treasures with ease. However, this pitch-black broken blade could not fuse with heaven and earth essence chi after all, and the power it could release was limited. It could only be used by surprise. That was the reason why the fourth boss racked his brains to hide the pitch-black broken blade in a saber and carry it with him. Over the years, the pitch-black broken blade had done many amazing things. Anyone who had seen the pitch-black broken blade had already died. The fourth boss could clearly see that the pitch-black broken blade had already pierced Suzumo's palm. Even if this person had any other trump cards, he could cripple the latter's palm completely. In a flash, Suzumo channeled his essence spirit and released a secret skill. With lightning speed, he vanished from the spot. The pupils of the fourth boss constricted. The green-robed cultivator before him had vanished into thin air without any warning. How is that possible? The pitch-black broken blade in the hands of the fourth boss stabbed into the air and he froze on the spot. There was nothing there. Although the fourth boss was experienced, he had never seen such a situation. Had he encountered a ghost? In fact, he even thought that he was seeing things. Immediately after, another question flashed through the fourth boss's mind. Where did that person go? The entire battlefield seemed to have fallen into silence. Even the discussions and clamor on the city walls seemed to have vanished at that moment. Before the fourth boss could think of an answer, the third boss not far away suddenly widened his eyes and looked behind him with a shocked expression, as though he had seen something extremely terrifying. The third boss opened his mouth and moved, as though he wanted to say something to remind the fourth boss. However, it was all too late. The fourth boss heard a familiar voice that was calm and cold. "Since you want my hand, I'll take your life." The voice was extremely close. The fourth boss could even feel the warm breathing of the person behind him. A chilling intent surged up and covered his entire body. Bang! The next moment, he felt a sharp pain in his head as his consciousness exploded and his essence spirit was shattered instantly. His consciousness dissipated, and he fell stiffly to the ground with a dull gaze, dead. Chapter 1853, Taking Advantage of the Situation. Chapter 1853, Taking Advantage of the Situation. Even at the moment of his death, the fourth boss of the evil wolf army did not understand how Suzimo disappeared into thin air and appeared behind him. Even the outsiders on the city wall were shocked and did not know what happened, let alone him. What's going on? Was that teleportave to snatch his storage bag? Understood. Everyone from Heavenly Scorpion Stronghold replied with voice transmissions. The old man behind the young master of Heavenly Scorpion Stronghold, a grade 7 black immortal, said in a low voice, "Young master, don't go down. I'll lead more than 10 people over." The young master of Heavenly Scorpion Stronghold hesitated for a moment before nodding. "Uncle Jiang, I'll leave it to you then. Don't worry, young master." The old man named Uncle Jiang said, "That lad should have used up most of his trump cards up till this point of the battle. He's not a threat. Let's go." Uncle Jiang waved his hand gently and slipped down the city wall with more than 10 grade 6 black immortals of Heavenly Scorpion Stronghold. Almost at the same time, cultivators from Heavenbane Sect, Heavenly Fire Palace and Black Light Sect flashed out and descended along the city wall, charging towards the battlefield. Only Twin Dragon Sect and Thunder Shock Hall chose to stay put. Since Twin Dragon Sect's Suwon wanted to befriend Suzimo, she naturally could not hit him when he was down. The other cultivators of Thunder Shock Hall wanted to attack, but were stopped by the blue-dressed woman. The blue-dressed woman had a vague feeling that she had better not get involved today. One of the 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star, the Army of Blood Sun Valley, had long been killed by Suzimo in the 100,000 Mountains. Everyone from Black Een Mountain was also killed by Suzimo in the Night Marketplace, and the young master of Black Een Mountain died. Apart from those 4 factions, among the 8 major factions, Heavenly Scorpion Stronghold, Black Light Sect, Heavenly Fire Palace, and Heavenbane Sect charged into the battlefield, wanting to take advantage of the situation and snatch the treasures. The 4 factions were led by the personal guards of the young masters, 4 grade 7 black immortals. Including the third boss of the evil wolf army, there were 5 grade 7 black immortals. There were also dozens of grade 6 black immortals behind them. Although there did not seem to be many cultivators, and they were not as massive as the evil wolf army, they were extremely strong. Everyone knew that the flames that burned the evil wolf army earlier on had consumed too much energy, and Suzimo could not release it again within a short period of time. Even if it could be released, the 5 grade 7 black immortals could suppress the flames completely. When Suzimo sensed that, he was unmoved and merely sneered. Without even looking at them, he flicked his toes and grabbed the storage bag and pitch-black broken blade of the 4th boss. The pitch-black broken blade was a sentient Dharmic treasure. Although it was abandoned, it was of great use to him. Suzimo was delighted and put away the pitch-black broken blade. In that short period of time, cultivators of Heavenly Scorpion Stronghold, Black Light Sect, and the other 4 major factions arrived and surrounded Suzimo. "Fellow Taoists, let's join forces and fight this lad head-on later on," Uncle Jiang said in a deep voice. "Everyone else, there's no need to advance. Look for an opportunity at the outer perimeter and attack with all your might." "Sure." The grade 7 black immortals of Black Light Sect and the other factions nodded as well. The third boss of the evil wolf army naturally had no objections. Why? Suzimo was surrounded, but there was no hint of panic. Instead, his expression turned increasingly wild as he surveyed his surroundings and sneered. "The few of you want to join forces with the evil wolf army?" The grade 7 black immortals of the major factions were silent and merely looked at Suzimo coldly with wary expressions. They did not want to suffer a huge loss at this moment. The green-robed cultivator had many trump cards and unfathomable methods. Even though they had the advantage in numbers, they did not dare to be careless. Suzimo smiled and nodded. "Very good. Since you guys want to take advantage of the situation, don't blame me for starting a massacre." Although Suzimo was smiling, his words shocked everyone present. "Lad, you're arrogant and overestimate yourself." Uncle Jiang hollered, "Let me tell you, a grade 5 black immortal like you can't call the shots on the Dragon Abyss Star. You're not qualified to be arrogant here. Attack. The moment he said that, the 5 Grade 7 Black Immortals attacked at the same time. The third boss of the evil wolf army swallowed a scarlet pill, and his aura suddenly turned extremely berserk. With bloodshot eyes, he roared and charged towards Suzimo. Uncle Jiang conjured an immortal art and channeled his essence spirit. Biting the tip of his tongue, he spat out a mouthful of essence blood and shouted, "Heavenly Scorpion Descent." That mouthful of essence blood was equivalent to hundreds of years of cultivation. The moment Uncle Jiang attacked, he used his full strength. Chapter 1854. Arrival of the Divine Elephant. Chapter 1854. Arrival of the Divine Elephant. The essence blood evolved rapidly in midair, forming a gigantic scorpion that was dozens of feet long. Its tail was curved, and its poison needle hovered above its head as it charged towards Suzimo. Myriad Phenomenon Fist. The Grade 7 Black Immortal of Heavenbane sect channeled his blood chi and charged over in huge strides. His essence chi condensed, and he punched towards Suzimo. That person was clearly wearing a black-grade glove. With a single punch, a myriad of phantoms appeared, and a malevolent aura surged over in a shuddering manner. Black Light Lock. The Grade 7 Black Immortal of Black Light sect was a beautiful middle-aged woman. She waved her fair hands, and mysterious rays of light surged from her fingertips. The power of divine powers spread. Immediately after, chains that shone with divine light appeared on Suzimo's body. They were etched with mysterious runes that coiled around his limbs and shrank continuously. Heavenly Fire. The Grade 7 Black Immortal of Heavenly Fire Palace conjured an immortal art and extended his finger, pointing at Suzimo's head. Boom! A gigantic column of flames descended from the skies and smashed towards Suzimo. The 5 Grade 7 Black Immortals attacked with all their might, releasing their immortal arts and divine powers, as well as melee and long-range attacks. They had a tacit understanding and sealed Suzimo's escape path instantly. That attack was much more terrifying than the attack of the 2 bosses of the evil wolf army. This time round, the third boss and the Grade 7 Black Immortals from Heavenbane sect were in melee combat. Far away, the Grade 7 Black Immortals of Heavenly Scorpion Stronghold, Black Light sect, and Heavenly Fire Palace released their immortal arts and divine powers as well and surged over with a terrifying might. Suzimo frowned slightly. After all, his cultivation realm was much lower than the 5 of them. Right now, he did not dare to use his blood chi. Although he could still gain the upper hand in melee combat, it would be difficult for him to win in a short period of time. The lethality of the heaven-slaying sword art and earth-slaying sword art was extremely terrifying. However, once the sword chi was dispersed, they might not be a threat to Grade 7 Black Immortals. Kill. Right then, the dozens of Grade 6 Black Immortals lingering at the edge of the battlefield attacked one after another, summoning their Dharmic treasures and divine powers to descend in an overwhelming manner. Suzimo's gaze intensified as he channeled his essence spirit once more and released an innate divine power. Suddenly, 2 gigantic white elephant tusks grew on both sides of his back. They were menacing and sharp, as though they could penetrate everything and the void. Innate divine power, 6-tusk divine strength. In Tianhuang mainland, Suzimo had already comprehended that innate divine power to its peak. Once released, the power of all 6 divine elephant tusks would grow. His strength would increase by 6 times. However, in the upper world, he was restricted by the laws of the world. Furthermore, releasing that innate divine power took a huge toll on his essence spirit. Even with his level 7 black essence spirit cultivation, Suzimo could only barely release 2 divine elephant tusks. Even so, his strength doubled instantly. Not only did his physical strength increase, even the power of his essence spirit rose significantly, as though he had touched another level. What is that? Why haven't I seen that divine power before? Why do I feel that this lad's aura has increased significantly, as though he's a different person? Everyone on the city wall was shocked. Look, what's that? Many cultivators focused their gazes and saw a gigantic divine elephant vaguely appear behind Suzimo. It had 6 jade-white elephant tusks and exuded a thick and majestic might. When the 6-tusked divine elephant descended, many cultivators in Dragon Abyss City felt an inexplicable sense of trepidation and wanted to bow down and kowtow. Even the Grade 8 Black Immortals and Commander Lu were shocked. The 6-tusked divine elephant was like an ancient god. When it descended on the Dragon Abyss star, it was as though the star could not withstand the immense pressure of the 6-tusked divine elephant and trembled slightly. Suddenly, Suzimo opened his mouth and roared into the skies. At the same time, the divine elephant phantom behind him swung its trunk and reared its head as well, roaring in rage. Pang! 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 Instantly, the black light chains on Suzimo's body snapped and turned into nothingness. At the same time, Suzimo waved his sleeves and raised a handful of yellow sand. The yellow sand scattered and shone with a golden light, forming a gigantic yellow sand barrier that blocked the Dharmic treasures and divine powers of dozens of Grade 6 Black Immortals. This was an utmost treasure evolved from the Grade 9 Creation Green Lotus. Not many people in this world knew what changes would happen when the Creation Green Lotus became Grade 9. Back in Tianhuang mainland, even Daiyu merely said that the Creation Green Lotus would obtain even greater opportunities later on, but she did not know the exact reason. Therefore, Suzimo was not worried that others would recognize it when he released the 9 Heavens living soil. At the same time, Suzimo raised the bronze square tripod with his left hand and suppressed the third boss who was charging forward. Gripping his right hand tightly, he punched in reverse against Heaven Bane Sect's myriad phenomenon fist without turning back. Boom! A loud bang sounded almost at the same time. The third boss shuddered and felt a terrifying and ferocious power surge into his body through the golden mace. Even with his physique, he could not withstand it. That power was much stronger than the power that Suzimo released initially. Ah! The third boss shrieked. The bronze square tripod sent the golden mace in his hands flying, and he could not hold on to them at all. His palm was torn and fresh blood flowed. The golden mace sent flying and possessed an extremely terrifying power. Turning into a golden streak of light, it smashed into the crowd outside. 2 Grade 6 Black Immortals could not dodge in time and were struck by the golden light, shattering on the spot with a blood mist and dying. On the other side, the fists collided. The fist of the Grade 7 Black Immortal of Heaven Bane Sect carried a black Grade Dharmic treasure and released the immortal art of the myriad phenomenon fist, creating boundless phenomenons. However, the phantoms of the phenomenons were shattered by a single punch from the Green Lotus true body. The Grade 7 Black Immortal of Heaven Bane Sect was shocked as well, and the clothes on his arm were shattered by the violent power that surged in. His arm was already filled with blood scars. It was clear that this was because it could not withstand the power of Suzimo's punch. The person glared at his arm with a pained expression and let out a deep growl. Bang! Immediately after, under countless gazes, the arm exploded and flesh splattered everywhere. In the blink of an eye, only a few pieces of white bones were left, hanging casually outside. The immense pain triggered the person's consciousness, and he nearly fainted on the spot. Right then, he caught sight of a white light from the corner of his eye. Immediately after, an extremely sharp aura arrived instantly with a killing intent. The person felt chills run down his spine as though he had fallen into an ice cellar. Not good. Those words flashed through the mind of the Grade 7 Black Immortal of Heaven Bane Sect. The next moment, a white sword chi entered his forehead. Poof! A bloody hole appeared on the person's glabella with fresh blood oozing out. A Grade 7 Black Immortal of Heaven Bane Sect was dead. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.